Welcome to the Scale Model Podcast. In this podcast, we aim to entertain, inform, and promote the hobby of scale model kit building with interviews, reviews, and news about the hobby. The Scale Model Podcast is recorded bi-weekly and is available where your favorite podcasts are found, including iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, and Stitcher, as well as on our website at scalemodelpodcast.com. If you enjoyed the podcast, please consider leaving a review. It does help to get our shows out to more modelers. We also publish extra video content and complete episodes on our YouTube channel. Feel free to like and subscribe to the Facebook page at www.facebook.com/scalemodelpodcast. There's also a Patreon page at www.patreon.com/scalemodelpodcast. Your Patreon support helps us cover hosting costs and gives you access to extra content as well as prize giveaways. Welcome to episode 45 of the Scale Model Podcast, sponsored by Goodman Models. My name is Stuart Clark, and once again, I am social distancing from my colleague, my conscience, my mailing person, seems like, for prize packs, Mr. Anthony Goodman. How are you, sir?
I'm great, Stu. How are you doing today?
Oh, not bad. I had to wing that one a bit. Normally, I have that. Normally, I have those classy intros done in advance, but again, these are strange times.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
You know.
Sure are.
It is. So yeah. So your family's doing well and everything like that?
Yeah, we're all safe and sound so far. And
Good. Same here.
Yeah, we're just plugging away, trying to keep a normal schedule. And yeah, that's it. Teaching the kids, the homeschooling, trying to finish my model projects, stay sane.
I thought by now you'd have taught the kids how to build models and start carving through the stash.
It is. Let me say, it is an understatement to say how criminally undervalued teachers are and what a hard job they have.
Yes,
they
indeed.
deserve every penny and probably more.
Yep. Yeah, you're not the only one I've heard saying that. Yeah. So, okay, let's get right on to our latest news. So we have our exciting prize draw. Mm-hmm. We have Sean's Custom Model Tools, his Prize Pack 2 giveaway. This included another Goodman Models, the official green, not just any green, the official green, super stand, and the model tape dispenser. Yes. I haven't even been drinking yet. Maybe that's the problem. Anyway, what I did was I asked our wonderful listeners to submit a picture of their bench, and an absolute ton of you did. So I'm going to make a gallery with all these. So then I took the total count of the entries, threw that number into random.org, and I came up with a number, and witnessed by Marley and Charlie, the official accountants here at Meow and Meow accounting firm. The winner is Jose Castro.
Yeah,
or Jose, yeah. Hopefully I have that. I haven't thought of the name. So I will reach out to you in an email to get your address and that, and then we'll have Mr. Goodman and all his elves at Goodman Heavy Industries. We'll get that in the mail to me.
Yeah, absolutely.
To me. Oh, see.
May 1st. May 1st is going to be that's the next shipping date.
All right.
That's a shipping date for all the Goodman Models Super Saiyan blocks. There's a couple orders in the queue, and also the prize pack will be shipped out on the same day.
Awesome. So congratulations, and thank you everyone else for submitting your workbenches. It's nice to know that we all have days where our workbenches are a bit messy. I love how some of you admit that. The rest of you that don't, how do you work? No, I'm just kidding. No, they're all good. They're all really good.
It should be messy a little bit, right?
It should be, yeah, exactly. Yeah. Okay, so our other big exciting thing is Bench to Bench. Episode 1 is now available to the general public. This is the brand new video series, and I have to say, and I'm going to keep reminding people, this is all Anthony's idea. He came up with this. I'm just editing it. I think it's awesome.
You're doing the hard The heavy lifting.
I'm doing the heavy lifting, but I'm going to do a couple of the interviews too. Anyway, we
Yeah,
had
you
the
should.
first one. The
Yeah.
our Patreon supporters get it a week in advance.
Yep.
So they've had a week to enjoy it, and I've been hearing some great comments. And then I opened it up to everyone else with a post on our website. So the best way to find out when these post is to go to our website, scalemodelpodcast.com,
Yeah.
or you can subscribe there to get email updates, or you can also subscribe to the YouTube channel. Anyway, I did that. You had a great bench to bench with Aaron Skinner. He's a senior
it was
editor
neat.
at Fine Scale Modeler. You guys had a good time.
Yeah, actually, I think Aaron actually was a little bit responsible for planting the idea in my head, because he's been doing these sort of daily live streams from his bench every day while they're working from home, and everyone's sequestered, kind of like what most people are doing, hopefully. And I thought that was really interesting, but I didn't want to do the same thing. And I had a lot of questions about what he was showing people when I tuned in. So I thought, oh, maybe I could do something, a little bit different. And I thought, okay, maybe something semi-regular and a little bit of a format, and maybe just, dive in a bit deeper. And it's kind of stuff that we don't really cover in our podcast. And we both can do these every so often, or as opportunities present themselves. So we have another one in the can, and I have some other ideas, and I've invited you also to kind of do your own as well.
Yep, so we're going to be doing that, and so keep an eye for that. As I say, the Patreon supporters will always get it a week in advance, so if you want that extra bonus week, feel free to support us at patreon.com/scalemodelpodcast.
Any amount helps, right?
Any amount helps. We truly appreciate it. Okay, our next bit of news is something called WantaFest. It's coming. So this is by a lot of the folks behind who would normally be either organizing or vending or whatever at Wonderfest.
Yes.
And as most people know, Wonderfest has been moved back to October at this point. So this is basically going to be, it's kind of a virtual contest, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that's a great way of summing it up.
So it's going to be from let me just find the date here, because I've just lost it again. I know the Thursday, May 28th. It's going to begin. It's going to begin, which would have been Wonderfest weekend. Yeah. But they're going to have a virtual model contest, which you can register for. The cost to enter will be $10 for your first entry, $5 for each additional. They're only going to have 4 categories this year, just to keep it simple. There will be prizes and all that, but 100% of the entry fees and the raffle proceeds are going to go to Wonderfest. So they're hoping to help offset any of their fees or losses resulting from postponing the show. Yeah. So hopefully we'll actually, I recognize a few people here. We've actually had a few of them on the show. Yep. But basically, it's going to be from Thursday, May 28th till Monday, June the 1st. There is a Facebook page. We have put the link up, and helping administer that is George Stephenson of Blackheart Models, Steve Iverson. We interviewed him at Cult TV Man, Lynn at Metalhead Minis, Rob Madison at Monster Model Review, Norbert Osner at Resin Maniacs, and Thomas A. Grossman of Tag Team Hobbies. It's going to be really good. We're happy to support them as well. I threw out that we're going to give them a shout out, and they replied back really quick. So awesome. If we have time, we'll see if we can get a quick interview. But even then, maybe maybe we'll see what we can think about on that weekend. Maybe we can do some sort of, once they have the prizes or something, we can arrange an interview or something like that. I want
on it.
Yeah. So like I said, some of these guys, so maybe it's something we can do, a simple Skype interview with the winner or something, and we throw it back to their page, because I'd love to support them too. So yeah. Absolutely. Yep. And I see, let's see, some other people are already saying, Jamie Hood from round 2 is saying, he'll see what he can do. He says maybe announce something to even do a mini version of our Wonderfest award. But we will award 1 prize for best use of a round 2 brand model entered in the category. A lot of exciting stuff. They've just kind of really started this week. So it was posted last Sunday. So definitely check that out. I think this is a good idea, and it kind of reminds me the NMRA, which is the National Model Railway Association. So this is the model railroad equivalent of IPMS. They had their show I believe it was St. Louis this year. I may be wrong, but they've actually canceled theirs for this year. Similar thing, it
Yeah.
was going to be earlier than nationals, but they decided to do a virtual convention, and they
Yeah,
did it
that's
just
crazy.
this last weekend. They did 26 hours of coverage.
That
So
is
what it was is
amazing.
it was a lot of things like layout tours and a lot of clinics and stuff like that, and it was apparently very well received. Because one thing I've heard over the years that, some people think the NMRA hasn't kept with the times, particularly to the
Hmm.
juniors and that. And again, I'm not a model railroader, it's just stuff I hear. But,
Hmm.
they did a really good job, and they got a lot of kudos. So kudos to them. And, this could be something that happens more and more.
Yeah, I mean, we have to adapt to the times, right? And I
Yep.
got to give them a lot of credit for getting on that
Well,
and
and
putting
it's
that together.
definitely worth checking out
Yeah.
because some of the clinics, especially stuff on scenery, could be of great benefits to scale modelers as well.
Mhm.
So
Oh, for
definitely,
sure.
yeah,
Even if
exactly.
it's just like a framework about how to run a type of show or a convention or something,
Hmm.
just to help bring people together in this kind of a really stressful time that we're going through right now and trying to
Yep.
keep the thing alive, right?
Yep,
That's awesome.
exactly. Okay, speaking of IPMS Nationals,
Yeah.
just yesterday, Len, who's the director we've
Yeah.
had on the show,
Glenn
he,
Philhoffer.
yep, he posted a fairly large Facebook posting, and again, give him credit, he's being transparent. And basically, the link, I've got the link on the page, but basically, he's gone through what their concerns are, things like contracts and stuff like that. Right now, they're still hoping to do something. Um,
Yeah.
they're still hoping to do something, whether it's a smaller version or whatever. The big thing right now is, and I've heard this from other places too, is in a lot of these cases, these event things, even if they have cancellation insurance, if they pull the plug, the insurance doesn't kick in. So what it needs sometimes is like for the government, the local state government to say, no, you're not having it, then they can do it. Because like anytime you have these contracts for convention centers and hotels, they're always in the hotel or convention center's favor. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. So it's a fairly lengthy post, and it kind of explains what they're dealing with.
Yeah.
So I think they're hoping things improve, even if it's smaller, or that the local government cancels it outright, and then the hotel doesn't have a choice. Because that's the problem when you do these
Yeah.
contracts.
Yeah.
You're basically saying, okay, we're going to have so many guest room nights, so much money is going to be spent in the restaurants and stuff like that, and there can be
Mhm.
penalties if that doesn't happen. Because
Yeah. No, for
they
sure.
put a block of suites and stuff like that.
These are
So
major, major undertakings with a lot of costs involved for sure. It's
yeah,
not just renting
yeah,
a hall for a day, and trying to have a small show. This is like a huge, huge thing. So
yeah.
I really feel for all the staff
Oh
and
yeah,
Phil.
yeah.
Sorry, Len Pilhofer and all of his staff for, they put all this, your heart and soul into this probably for a year, and then this thing kind of comes out of nowhere and just derails all that work, right?
Exactly. So, they're doing what they can. They are saying if they are forced to cancel, obviously they're gonna be giving refunds.
Yeah.
So, they're just doing what they can. So
Yeah.
we'll see what happens.
Hmm.
Again, I really wish it does fall through, but I just don't know. I just can't see it, but let's hope.
Hmm. Yeah.
It would be nice if things improve that much, but
Yeah.
as I've said before, with restrictions on large gatherings, I think you're going to have businesses open by then, but I think
Yeah.
large gatherings,
It's a dicey thing. Do you want to expose yourself also,
yeah,
right? As
in the other way. Yeah,
an
exactly.
attendee, right? And
Yeah,
it's a tough one. Hopefully it can work out
yeah. So we'll see
some
what
kind of
happens.
online thing, or who knows. Yeah, we'll be watching very carefully, I suppose, and reporting
Right.
back to listeners.
Okay. So what's happening at our good friends Moscato? You were
Oh,
mentioning the Quincy
yes.
Road kit. You've been working really hard
Yeah.
on that.
Oh my goodness, this has turned into a real passion project for me.
I know.
So I was speaking with John a couple weeks ago, or not even that long ago, but of Moscato Hobby Models, and the 72nd scale Quincy Row kit is sold out and done. That is it. So
Rare,
I'm
rarer to
yeah.
find than a wingnut wings kit.
Yeah, or just
Just
probably.
about.
So I know
Yeah.
that they were being sold directly through him and internationally distributed through return to kit form, and that they are donezo, and that's it. So he also has the other kit of note that he has out is the 148 scale original science fiction creation by John, the 48th scale M72 Gabriel, and that one is still in stock. And I know that our good friend Brett Trainer of Return to Kit Form is working on another spec build. I'm working on one.
Yeah.
I think Brett's gonna beat me, but I gotta say I had to launch ahead on the Quaidloon Rao kit, which is what the Quincy Row is referencing. So I'm really almost on this one, and I don't actually have that far to go on the other one as well. So they'll be coming out soon with lots of nice
Excellent.
pictures.
Excellent. Okay. Let's move on to our mailbag. Couple of things. I posted this one about a week ago because it was a good question. Eric Flynn said, "Hello, gents. Like a lot of people, I've gotten back into models in the past month after many years away from the hobby. It seems like a recurring theme these days, and wow, I can't believe how much I'm enjoying it again. Not sure why I left, but work, moving, raising a family seems to get in the way." He's asking about, do you have an air compressor you would recommend to someone with airbrushing experience, but not an expert from by any means?
Mm-hmm.
Trying to get there though, would like a 3 liter tank attached with a regulator and water trap. So many to choose from that I don't know what is good and what is not.
Hmm.
Don't feel like dropping 500 for an Iwata, as I think my wife may have a cow. Don't let your wife have a cow. That's never good.
All
Trying
right.
to trying to keep in the $200 range. I've been using my Iwata HP-C airbrush on a
Yeah.
5-gallon air tank that has a regulator and water trap installed. Works, but a pain in the ass to have to run down to the garage and
Oh
refill
yeah.
halfway through a product.
A
Time for a
nightmare.
compressor. Yeah.
Yes.
Loving the podcast and the info you were saying. I laughed when you told the story of dropping the X-Acto blade in your lap and cutting your leg. I just did that recently and now have a hole in my right thigh. Thanks and keep up on the awesome podcast. Now, I know Eric got a lot of replies from our
Yeah.
listeners on the Facebook thing. Do you have any personal one?
I
I just
I'll
didn't.
weigh in on this big time.
Yeah, please.
Okay. So the thing is, Eric, and everybody else out there, is that yeah, if you're trying to use like $150 air compressor that's meant for your air tools, it's so loud. Even in your garage, it's so loud that it's gonna soon become impractical. And if you're trying to run up and down the stairs, you're gonna kill the fun of airbrushing, which is so much fun. The Wada air compressors, they're the cat's meow, and yes, they're $400, but in my they are super quiet, and they work really well, and you don't need the big tank because I think nowadays it seems that it's fairly typical that they just sort of come on demand. So
Mhm.
that means you depress the trigger for air, you get air, it works, and then it stops. Um, I've had my Iwata air compressor for definitely more than 5 years. I'm gonna say closer to 10. And that it was worth it. I actually traded somebody a whole whack load of kits and some rare kits, and I don't miss them at all. It was totally worth it because I could, I can work as much as I want, as late as I want. My wife and kids, it doesn't ever disturb them. It doesn't bother them. It's that kind of thing. It's that investment that um, it's gonna be worth it. And I don't know about. I know that there's like a Badger air compressor that's probably is been around for a long time, so I'm going to take that as a sign of something really good.
Mhm.
But I don't know. I think if you can shoot for that, you like Iwata is going to be a great compressor. I think there's Badger, and I think there's a few other brands that it's the same compressor motor, but
Right.
it's like they're rebranded. Man, it's just one of those things. It's going to change your modeling life, right?
Yeah.
So why not?
Yeah.
Even if you have to move things sideways, like I know everyone doesn't have, oh, I'm going to drop a few $100 on my hobby, fun time kind of thing. I'm sort of that guy too, right? And that's why I said trading kits to me was no problem. I came back from Japan with a bunch of I found this and that, like a rare kit or something, and then a deal came up, and I was like, you know what? They don't matter. It doesn't matter. And then,
Uh-huh.
yeah. So, but to have one that's meant for modeling, that's quiet and lets you work unencumbered or for as long as you want, because sometimes you're in the zone or you're
Yeah.
doing something, you don't want to stop and run upstairs, and you don't want something that's going to disturb your family, right? So that is the best way to get the most fun out of the hobby. There you go. That's what I have to say on that.
Yeah, like I've got, I don't even know what the brand is, but it's one of those ones that it just, yeah, just provides the air when I turn it on. It's not trigger controllable when I just have a foot switch. I know a
Okay.
lot of people like the regular the ones with the tanks because they say they don't get the pulsing of the air pressure, but I don't really notice that.
I
So
want, you know what, the trick to the pulsing is you have to, there's sort of a secondary bit of kit that you need to complete your setup. And I'll tell you right now, you need a functional, um, what am I looking for? Like an air pressure gauge. And
uh
you need a water trap and an inline trap.
yeah,
And the gauge lets you dial in the pressure. Pressure gauge, I guess, is the term I'm looking for.
yeah,
And then the water trap is
yep,
important because I think that
yep.
has to do with the pulsing, if
Well,
I'm not
it's more to
mistaken.
do with the humidity because of the air it
Yeah,
sucks in. But I just, I know that's why a lot of people like the ones with the tanks.
yeah. I wonder if
You
that's
know,
because I don't have that problem on mine that's
no,
tankless.
no, I don't either. So it's, but yeah. But anyway, there's some good
Yeah,
advice, Eric. And as I said, definitely,
think
I
about.
wrote him back and I said I'd post it to the Facebook group. So hopefully he gets something and we'll go from there. Okay, the
Absolutely.
next one is Steve Schaefer, and he's from Hastings, Minnesota.
Hi,
Hello, I
Steve.
just wanted to say how much I love your podcast. I started with you guys and then discovered your colleagues in Australia and Kentucky. I'm a nurse, and listening to all of you has helped me get through those weird times. I ordered my super sanding blocks a while ago, and they are now a staple on my bench. What a great product. Thanks for
Awesome.
everything. Yeah, so thank you, Stephen. Thank you for your service.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I know, and I'm glad, and it's not the first time I've heard this. I think that's why the guys in Kentucky and Australia, they've gone to weekly. They have the time to do it, and everyone's trying to support people. And, we've done our modeling club. We do a virtual Wednesday night build group, and, you have to do what you can. It affects you mentally too, not just physically.
Absolutely. I think we're all feeling that kind of stress, right? And
Oh, exactly. Exactly.
scatteredness and the whole
Yep.
losing our regular routines and that kind of
Yep.
thing. It
Yep.
definitely adds up, eh?
Definitely, definitely. Okay, moving on. A lot of exciting news in the hobby world. There may be a pandemic going on, but stuff keeps happening. So I was looking on Scale Auto Mag the other day because once in a while I do that. I'm not a huge car guy, but they have a video featuring an announcement that Revell, so this is Revell Germany now, of course.
Hmm.
A lot of people don't know that Revell has their own line of paints. Up until now, you can't get them here in North America, but
Interesting.
they're going to release both their enamel and acrylic lines to Canada and the US. June in Canada, US in August. Also, they're also going to release their glue, a lot of their modeling tools, stuff like that. Now, I have personally never used either product. I know a
Hmm.
lot of people in Europe use them and they like them. And that's about all I can say on the quality or like that. But I do know, considering Tester's move getting out of the market, this is absolute genius on Revell's part. I'm sure they were
Yeah,
planning this
sure.
before the announcement, but I'm
Hmm.
sure there was a lot of smiles when that happened.
Yeah.
Again, I've heard mixed things, but I always say with paints, some guy may love it, some guy may hate it. You have to
Yeah, I
try
mean,
it, but
people, yeah, definitely. Each fan has or each paint line has its fans who have kind of tapped into how to make
Mhm.
it work for them, right?
Yep. Yep, and these are going to be both the spray bombs, the containers, so both the acrylic and the enamel. So their acrylic comes in a unique little, it's like a
Yeah.
square box with like the tin inside.
Is it
Um,
plastic? Looks like plastic.
I don't know if the
Oh,
box is. I
but
think it
then
might. I think it might be. It's a bit
uh,
like Games Workshop, I think.
oh,
But
okay.
there's a separate tin inside. But the idea is you unscrew the lid, right? Like the lid's built into the top plastic thing, so it
Okay.
keeps it from basically tipping over. And then you can
Cool.
actually clip the top lid to the body just the way it's done. So if
Okay.
you need to take a little bit like for mixing, you can use the lid for mixing. It's you have
Yeah.
to see the video to kind of, it's a unique thing. I
Yeah.
haven't seen anyone else do that. But
It'll
yeah,
work out
so
well.
so I think it's going to be good.
Oh,
I
I
know the
see the little
car,
tin there too,
yeah,
right?
like a little
The
tinlet in there.
the
Yeah, so
classic tinlet.
their enamels are the tinlets. The acrylics are a tinlet with like this little square thing.
Yeah.
Plus they're going to have the spray bomb.
Yeah.
Plus some other modeling tools. So they've got their glue that has a little pin applicator. They're
Yeah.
doing their masking tape. They're doing, a bunch of different things that you haven't really
Wow.
seen here.
Hmm.
And I know, like I said, I know with testers disappearing, I know there's a lot of car guys that, they don't know anything about,
Yeah.
AK or Vallejo or all that. They're going to want the
Well,
brands they know. They're going to see this
yeah.
and they're going to try it.
It might be just a thing for them because like the thing about testers and model masters, they had very awesome car model specific
Yeah.
paints, right? Like you get
Yeah.
Ford engine blue. That does not exist from what I can tell in Gunzy, in Tamiya, in AK. Like they're geared towards like the military model, right? The historical
Yeah.
modeling,
And this
science
is
fiction
this is the
modeling.
difference. Yeah, they have an
Yeah,
absolutely huge paint line. Um, and it's going to include, car colors and stuff like
yeah.
that.
I mean car colors, that's really important part of it. Like trying
Yeah.
to get those stock colors from those years, like that's and I sure you can make whatever work, but isn't it nice to have something geared just for your sort of your niche of interest, right?
Yeah,
So hopefully this
exactly.
works out well.
Yeah, so for example, like I found on the Revell site, they've got a paint match guide. So they've got a Fury red, which matches the tester's Ford engine red,
Oh
a couple of
yeah,
different ones like that. So there'll be some guys I think will be very interested in this. And again,
yeah.
we might see, particularly in North American stores, where people take out the tester's rack, they
And
might replace
slam
it
one of
with
these
this.
in. Yeah,
Yeah,
cool.
and so like I said, I think it's, even if they hadn't thought about it before, and if they've worked quickly, this is genius. I think this is a very good idea,
Hmm.
um, for all the things. And again, they've got some other interesting products. And again, people forget this is Revell Germany. It's a different company.
Yeah,
It's not the Revell monogram. So people have to keep that in mind. And
yeah.
you know what? If they come in, I'll certainly probably try a couple of the acrylics just to see.
Why not?
Uh, you
Especially
know,
for any car project, it's nice to grab
well,
the
different things. Yeah,
project
see what
specific
works.
piece, right?
Yep, see what works and
Yeah,
go from there. Okay,
cool.
moving on. Tamiya, they didn't have a lot of new stuff this month. Really, the only thing of note is they now have a metal primer,
Oh yeah.
40 ml bottle. So yeah, basically this is similar. I think Mr. Color has one of these.
Yeah, I
Um,
have a bottle of this stuff.
yeah,
It's
so
called Mr. Metal Primer.
I guess the idea is it must do a bit more of an etching thing. Now it doesn't cause any damage to plastic parts.
Hmm.
And can be sprayed on by airbrush, or it's got an applicator brush in the cap.
Yeah, I've airbrushed it onto over photo etch parts like you
Yeah.
mentioned there. It
Now
seemed
now
good.
now now that's the Mr. Color one.
Yeah, I have the
Yeah, yeah, because this is
Gunzy
new.
Sanyo
Yeah,
Mr.
similar
Metal
thing.
Primer.
So this
Yeah.
is Tamiya's equivalent to it, I guess.
Hmm.
So yeah, so that's kind of cool. So again, look for that. I'll probably end up with that, even though photo etch. Sorry, and photo etch is not my friend. Um, we'll go from there.
I love it, but man, it is hard to paint. It does really
Oh yeah,
it chips
pain in
off
the
so much.
ass.
It's so
Yeah,
fragile. It doesn't really bite. So anything can help you get that to bite in like normal.
yeah,
Is
exactly.
such a help, right?
Yeah. Okay, moving on. Hasegawa was April 2020.
Hmm.
They classify as limited editions, which means they're all reboxes or
Hmm.
or or, or repops. A couple interesting ones. I always like the Hubble Space Telescope and Space Shuttle in 1/200th. They've got a VF-103 F-14B Tomcat, 1/72nd. A very nice racing Toyota. The famous egg plane, Phantom 2, in
Hmm.
Japanese markings, and then a 1/24th Kubla wagon with a blonde girl figure in a rather skimpy German uniform. Definitely from Japan. That's all I'm going to say.
Hmm.
I'm going to leave it. I'm going to leave it there. Do I need to say anything else?
Leave it right there.
I'll leave it
That's the
right there.
spot. Just stop.
Just stop right there.
No
Okay.
more required.
No more
Enough said.
required. All right. So you can get those from your Hasegawa dealer. Okay, another big, big, big announcement. from AK. They have an absolute ton of new items, but
Oh yeah.
it's a whole new range. They've got like just an absolute ton. So I'm just going to start. Our friends in the modeling news had some excellent coverage. Bunch of new products, new tools, new paint sets, new glues.
Man.
Just
Wow.
yeah. So first off is their latest issue of Damaged. It's a special sci-fi issue. And I believe our friends at Fine Scale Modeler at the Comblock shop, they'll eventually have this as well because they sell this magazine.
Okay.
All sorts of cool things for weathering various sci-fi kits. Again, gorgeous photos, a lot of good tips. Just some very, very cool stuff. I love some of the pictures in this.
Yeah.
Um,
That's
and
pretty
they've
inspiring.
also got, what's that one was Damage Magazine. Yeah, that's the special sci-fi one. And then they've got their regular issue, which is number 9, €6, 72 pages, modeling in cinema. It's a lot of like some of the special effects. They've also got some very nice figure schemes. So like Braveheart, Rogue One, The Rebel Attack, I Am Legend, like just a bunch of cool little dioramas. Definitely check that out. Always good. Okay, now the really big news. They have their own glues now. They're copying Mr. Hobby and Tamiya. So
Interesting.
they're basically kind of similar to the existing stuff. So they're going to have a quick cement, extra thin. The quick setting, they're going to have the regular extra thin. So yeah, quick cement extra thin, €4.50, 40 mil special square anti-rolling base, ultra thin, brush, stuff like that. So yeah, basically Mr. Color Tamiya has equivalent products, but if you like AK and if you're somewhere, so yeah, that's the extra strong, the extra quick.
That's very interesting. I wonder why. Like, is it a
I
question of why not jump into the market,
I
or
think so, and I think there's a lot of cases where, let's say, dealers and that they don't
yeah?
want to carry 30 different companies.
Okay.
If you can carry one, you have everything you need, one-stop shopping.
Yeah, makes sense.
That's probably it. So
I'd try
they
this, to
also
be honest with you.
yeah, so they also have the extra thin cement, same price. So again, this will be the equivalent of your Tamiya extra thin.
Yeah.
Then they've got the plastic cement standard density. So this is like the regular liquid cement.
Yeah.
The classic with medium drying climb and more viscosity. So this
Yep.
is when you're doing something like a larger, like a
Yeah.
very large fuselage.
More hold.
Yep. And then they've got the extra thin citrus cement. This is the stuff that, you know, doesn't
It's
have the
called
horrible
what?
smell.
Yeah. Is it called lemon for Tamiya?
They're calling it citrus, but yeah, to me, it's the same
Yeah,
product.
lemon. Yeah,
Yeah.
but like it's supposed to.
Yeah.
It has some kind of different chemical makeup that's not
Yeah,
as
apparently.
toxic,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. So they say it's the same one as it's the same characteristics of the extra thin, but with an aromatic touch.
I
Okay,
would
then
try those though. Ooh.
I've never tried it. Yeah, the next one is Wolverine PVA glue. So this is a white glue for work on transparent parts, resistant invisible joints to glue wood, paper, cockpit, cork, wicker, polystyrene, foam, etc. So I wonder if you could
Canopy glue.
use this on canopies.
Yeah, this is the can. Like I have a white glue by a LePage, like a big giant
Yeah, yeah,
thing. I have that. I have the original, like that sort of classic micro crystal
yeah. I
clear
have that. I have the crystal clear.
from
Yeah.
micro scale, right?
Yep.
That everyone's had. It's all the same stuff. It's all PVA glue, right? This is.
Yeah.
I mean, I would probably
This
try this too.
so this is a PVA. Apply with
Yeah.
temperatures between 10 and 35, relative humidity 70, total cure in 6 hours. So yeah, good for your scenery and stuff like that. So again,
Mhm.
one-stop shopping. Then they've also got their magnet ultra-resistant CA glue. So this is a general
Yeah.
purpose 401 fast drying extra strong.
Oh, it's got to be. This will be like a super grip. Yeah, that's this. Okay, I'm
Ah,
interested in that.
and
So I've
okay,
just had this problem.
yeah. So here's another one you might
Yeah.
find interesting because I don't know if anyone else has this. I've never heard of this. Black Widow Ultra Resistant CA glue. It's got special CA 380 formulated with rubber particles to add flexibility to the joints.
Yeah.
Extra strong, low viscosity with special formulations for metals, rubbers, and plastic.
So this is rubber impregnated super glue.
Yeah.
This stuff's been around. It's awesome. Wave Corporation from Japan used to make this
Okay.
rubber impregnated CA glue, trying it, and
Yeah.
it like they stopped making it. It was black. It was awesome. It worked so well. It was just easy to control. It just did exactly
Okay.
what you wanted. It was super strong. It was really forgiving, very paintable. And I don't know if we can't import it now because it's obviously fairly, it's got some chemical
Yeah. Well, I
components to
confess,
it.
I have never heard of this stuff
Oh
before.
man,
So,
I have an empty package of the Wave that I've just set on my like from 10 years ago. Like when it finally ran out and I couldn't get any more. It's so good.
well,
I wonder if this will
hopefully
be
it will
a
be here.
replacement for that. But yeah, it does have a really good bond. And like especially you get into larger size models or any resin stuff where there's like a bit of weight becomes like a real issue.
Right.
And yeah, you need something with grip, but it still has to be for modelers. You
Yeah.
know what
I
I
guess
mean?
it says setting time 61 to 2 minutes.
It is black
Uh,
too, just like the
it
good
is
Wave
black.
stuff. Oh,
Uh,
I
Holding the
must have.
pieces for 60 to 80 seconds will ensure better adhesion. Cure
Yeah,
times 20 to 24 hours. So up to 1.5 millimeter gap filling. So yeah.
they call it
So
elastic rubber cyano. Okay,
yeah, Black
yeah.
Widow ultra resistant CA glue.
So if
It's
this is
called Black
anything,
Widow.
yeah, if this is anything like the old Wave glue, which I don't know
Yeah.
exactly what it's called,
I'm looking
I'll
at the
love to
I'm
try
looking at
that.
the yeah, I'm looking at the instructions here, and it definitely mentions, it definitely shows it like on their AK page. It is black.
Yes.
I'm looking at the instructions for it. So okay, so that gets Anthony excited. We know
Yeah.
Anthony's added something to his wish list.
Oh yeah.
Okay, next up is some paint sets for the figure modelers, Orkin Green modelers. So this is part of the new Series 3 acrylic line from
Hmm.
AK. So this contains 6 acrylic paints for
It's a
applying a
flesh
green
set, right?
finish. Yeah,
Basically a flesh
it's a
set, but
green flesh set. Yeah,
for trolls.
for trolls and orcs and like
Yeah.
that. They also have a metal and steel set. So for your metal finishes for your
Wow.
soldiers. And then what else? We have a night creature flesh tone set. A lot of purples and stuff like that. Again, these are great, especially if you've got like an army, and that way you
Yeah.
don't have to think about it. You can just, okay, I'll go with these.
Hmm.
Human flesh tones, so all your human
Yeah.
bits. What else? Inferno and red creatures. They seem to be covering a lot. They've got a rest set. So again, I haven't tried these series 3 yet. I want to get my hands on a couple of them just to try. I've heard some mixed things. Like I've heard some people say they're terrible to airbrush, some people say they're fine.
Huh.
They seem to definitely be marketing these for figures, but again, acrylic works everywhere, so they're
But I
very
wonder if
new.
they're really formulated to be brush painted.
Well, I'm wondering that too, but
Yeah.
again, they're only a couple of months old, so we really haven't seen them here yet.
It does
Uh,
mention just in that one description they say they can be applied by brush, taking advantage of the
yeah,
third generation high coverage and adhesion. So I wonder if it's
yeah, and diluted can be
specific.
airbrushed as easily as
Yeah.
lacquer based. So yeah, it's a matte, dries to a matte finish. So next up is their own take on the airbrush stand. So now you just bought some,
Oh
didn't you?
yeah. Yes.
Yeah. So
So
this is
this
go
is
ahead.
cool. I'm glad you can see this really well. And for listeners, if you click on the link and follow the modeling news down to this, so I just got a set of these airbrush stencils by another company called Ushi.
Mm-hmm.
And they call the one I got from them. The set was called the Trinity Splatter, and it was 3 individual like photo etch stencils, and it's
Yep.
kind of like a random modeling, and they have like a small, medium, large, like smaller holes and larger holes. But this looks really cool for if you're going to do any kind of black basing or you want to do some kind of a modeled appearance, like to show wear and tear,
Mm-hmm.
but not
Mm-hmm.
like mud splatter on everything. Like everything fades differently, or like
Yep.
airplanes, when they replace panels and that panel has a
Mm-hmm.
fresh piece of paint and
Mm-hmm.
the rest of it doesn't, and sun faded stuff or whatever, that these different types of environmental, but they're subtle effects.
Right.
Um, these look amazing. I haven't tried mine. I just got them at the
Yeah.
sort of beginning of the lockdown period, or I think it was only a week
Yeah,
ago.
it's something I want to get as well
Yeah.
because yeah, definitely for like a slightly weathered, like
Yeah.
even
Yes.
on aircraft, so your paint scheme doesn't look uniform, just to
Especially on
show.
aircraft, I
Yeah.
would say. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I notice here it says, okay, weathering, chromatic, richness, and gradient effects tool. So that's really what it is. The gradient, like showing that a gradient in paint and tonal. So what you could do is you could take like on a Navy aircraft, right? You would take a couple grays. Like if you're trying to do the gull gray, you would take, your base color, but then you would take maybe a very close shade, and then
highly diluted.
Yep, nice and thin, and as always, and then use the stencil just to pick up little parts or certain, hone in on certain panels and give them some irregularity. And people are not like, I think humans are sort of just in general not good at being random, right?
Exactly.
So this is a tool to take that, that part of the problem out of the equation. So this is cool. I'm very stoked about using mine. I haven't had it yet, but
and one thing that's interesting, I love at the bottom of this section, it says experiment and have fun. We are making scale models, and that's what it's all about.
Yes.
So but wait, there's still more. If it's a shame Heritage Con, we were hoping it comes in October because AK was going to be there, because I could see myself spending a lot of money there.
Oh my goodness.
So the next one, assorted graffiti decals.
That's fun.
These have been designed by AK's team of modelers to match some popular graffiti in use in any surface. So this will be, it's cartograph decals. So the idea is you can put it up on, on like a diorama wall or whatever. And
this has been around before in like the modern railway world, right? But never heard of it kind of in the scale model world.
Exactly. Okay, next under the, why didn't we think of this? Airbrush purification cup. So this is basically a built-in filter that goes in your airbrush cup. Now, I know what some people do is they'll do it like in the paint jar when mixing the paint, like they'll have a filter over like a little shot cup. That's what I use. But this is, this is an idea for maybe if you don't want to do that. Let's say you're just putting some paint and a little bit of thinner in. Right in the airbrush. Looks like it fits a standard size cap.
Oh, that's cool.
21 millimeters, compatible with standard cups. And
those little convenience things, they're nice, right? Like maybe it's not a necessity. You can get away with like, stretching a nylon over a shot glass, but you know what?
Just make sure you ask your wife. Don't just randomly take one.
Yeah, it's got to be a used pair that has rungs.
And with permission.
You got to cut it up.
With permission.
Yeah.
Just say.
And then the elastic band snaps across the room and the paint like splashes up and.
Oh, it sounds like you've been there.
I've done that. but this, these look fun. I like that.
So definitely a couple of cool things there from AK. So check them out. They'll be coming out really soon, and we're starting to see more dealers. I know in our area carrying AK, and they're getting slowly but surely more through North America and the rest of the world. I know. You're gonna be calling our friends at Forbes Hobby, aren't you? Once he's reopened.
Yeah, I think they're closed. Maybe Broughdale.
They're closed right now.
Yeah, I think they're fully closed, but Broughdale, Richard is still taking. Like I got a whole load of stuff. Yeah.
There you go. All right, moving on. ICM has a new 1/32 scale Stearman PT-17 Cadet. This is another trainer. Remember we talked about the Airfix Tiger Moth?
Yeah.
So this is another very famous training aircraft the U.S. used late in interwar years and into World War II. So they've they're basically doing another aircraft that maybe not everyone knows about, but they're making it in the big scale. So they served as a military trainer in the 30s and 40s for both the Air Force, the U.S. Navy, and the RCAF. And that's where the cadet line was come. So I can see definitely some Canadian modelers are going to be very interested in this. There was over 8,500 built.
Wow, so very common. Probably a lot of people flew on these.
Yep. And eventually post-war, they used them for like crop dusting aerobatics, all sorts of things. This is the one that was featured in the movie scene chasing Gary Grant across the field in North by Northwest.
Oh,
so very famous. Yeah, if you ever saw one, you went, oh, I know what this is now.
Yeah.
So this looks like a very nice. The CAD drawings look amazing.
Yeah, they do.
For the trainer. Again, I'm not a trainer guy, but I know a lot of people would be. Nicely detailed N23S rotary engine. This looks very, very nice.
Oh man, the engine detail on this is like out of this world.
Yep.
Like in the CAD. I hope that it looks like, and sort of the engine is really exposed, right, on the aircraft. So
Exactly.
it's got to be a real
Exactly.
feature. So hopefully they've done
Yep.
it justice.
So they've got two boxings planned. They've got the Air Force one, looks like a Navy one's being planned.
Hmm.
They're also making a 30-second screw of a male and a female to go with the kit. And they've got a box art directly from a fairly famous picture. So a guy in the cockpit and someone, an instructor or something, because a lot of women were instructors sitting
Yes.
on the outside of the aircraft. So again, that could be interesting. I don't have a release date yet from ICM, but normally they're out pretty quick. But this is 100% all new mold, so that'll be exciting.
Yeah.
Okay, this is another interesting one. This is from a new model company called Suyata, Suyata. I've never heard of these guys before.
Hmm.
These are basically egg subjects again, right?
Yeah.
So
Joke planes. I've heard
yeah,
them
so the
called
first
joke
one we
planes, egg
have
planes.
is the Fokker DR1 triplane and the Red Baron with a full interior for an egg plane, I guess.
Wow.
It looks like something out of a video game, at least the character. But yeah, it builds up fairly nice. You get a little figure of the Red Baron. Apparently, it's got a full interior.
You know what? There is definitely I know we've talked a little bit about that, like this SD or super deformed or joke
Yeah,
plane or whatever.
yeah.
Like there's been a ton of these for,
Oh,
over the
exactly.
last 30, 40 years of models, right?
But you know
People
what?
do love them.
They must have been listening to me because remember I said a while back when was it Wingnut was going to if they were going to when they were going to do their Lancaster, they were going to do a clear fuselage. No,
Yeah.
sorry, Hong Kong models did a
Yeah.
clear fuselage on the Lancaster. Well, these guys are offering both fuselage sides in either a clear or a red.
Okay.
So you can show off that interior if you want to, either left or right or both. So yeah, see, someone's listening to me at last.
It's amazing. You know what, too? This is the perfect kind of model project that is the kind of thing you can whip it up, but you
In a
can
weekend.
still. Yeah, but you can still put a little care into it. You can paint it, you can
Yep,
weather it, you can do some stuff to it, but it's a shorter build, like you said, a weekend or a couple days or a
yep,
week, and it goes on your little, um, how do I say, like a knickknack shelf, or like
yeah,
everyone's
exactly.
got like a little collection of weird
Yep,
little
weird and
things,
wild
or
things.
yeah,
Yep.
right, that's in their shop, and I think that's why these things have kind of endured in popularity. And I will point out to you that there are so many SD Gundam kits, like hundreds of them, and some of them are really, the level of detail and engineering is
Yep.
crazy on them, and they're like they get bigger and more complex, and there's a price tag associated with them. I
Hmm.
mean, it's never been my thing, but when I was in Japan, I totally walked by a shop and got
Yep.
one for $5 and built it and
Well,
stuff on the computer.
I built the Tiger, the little tune tank, and yeah,
Yeah.
just as much fun. Okay, second in the series, and this is either in very bad taste or just hilarious. They've got an egg Titanic, but it also comes with the iceberg, the seal. I think the iceberg's more the bad taste, if people might. But yeah, equally, the second cut is equally impressive to RMS Titanic in the deformed scale. Comes complete with, sorry, not one but two icebergs. My apologies, and a seal. Doesn't say if the seal's to scale or not, but yeah, it looks it looks pretty cool. It's yeah, completely different than the Titanic. So Ming released an egg one like this, but this is completely different. It
Yeah.
looks a lot more like taller.
Yeah.
Um,
Look
so
at the
yeah,
parts layout for this.
I
It's like
know, isn't that cool?
layered.
Yeah,
They're really in depth, right? I mean,
yeah,
I will say it's not exactly my cup of tea, but um, somebody once gave me the Focke-Wulf egg plane,
yep,
like
yep. Well,
from
I've
the
got the
80s and
Harrier. I've got the
70s.
Harrier egg plane. Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
cool.
with
So
the base and everything. But this looks wonderfully neat. Like I'm looking at the
yeah,
side shot here, right? This little
yeah,
short thing. It's like a little short and stubby thing. You could almost
yeah.
sci-fi it. So
They're like
apparently,
deformed, right?
yeah,
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 that's what
they're
that
like what we
comes.
call egg planes. Yeah, they're
Just
not
distorted
distorted.
scale,
Yeah.
right?
So apparently they're both being tested because they were at some shows. They should be almost ready for release or being molded. So we don't have a release date yet, but it's probably fairly soon. So yeah, those are kind of cute.
Yeah, it's
I
fun.
I think I think these guys are out of China. I think
That
I'll have to
makes
look them up a bit
sense.
more.
I wonder if they're oh yeah, it is China. Yes.
Yeah, subsidiary. I don't know if they're subsidiary or their own company or I'm not sure.
Yeah. We'll have
We'll
to
have to
dig
figure out.
deeper.
Yeah, we will dig deeper and see what we can find. But yeah, welcome to the modeling world, guys. That looks great. Okay, moving on. Ryfield. Oh yeah. So for the armor guys, Ryfield model's got a new 35th scale KV1 simplified turret in CAD form. So this is a Russian heavy tank that was around 1942. So they really upgunned it. They strengthened the armor so it could withstand a lot more of the German tanks. So this is stated for a June release. Not much other details. There will be photo etch, et cetera, et cetera. I know a lot of people really like the Ryfield stuff.
Yeah, these are just drawings at this point.
Yeah, these are
Just
CAD, but
CAD drawings.
they're saying June. So I'm sure they're more and more along with it. So yeah, keep an eye on their Facebook page for that. So that's kind of cool. Okay, moving on. Airfix, our good friends at Airfix, they've released their latest two 135th kits. These are the Academy boxings. So the Panther G, these will be two popular ones. The Panther G and the Sherman, the M4A376. So this was in like the Battle of the Bulge, for example. So late 44. But again, they've apparently had a good round. People haven't criticized them too much. And again, people know they've made no secret they're Academy boxings, but with updated decals and stuff like that. So yeah, so that'll be cool. At some point I want to get one, although I do have an Academy. What do I have? I have an Academy boxing.
You already got one.
Well, I know, but no, I think it's a Panzer III. It's not one of these.
Okay.
It's not the Panther, but I have an Academy boxing of something. I don't. You know what? The one I wouldn't mind at some point would be one of the first they released was the Stuart, the light tank named after me. No, not really, but you know,
in your honor.
In my 40 years, 20 something years before I was born. Sure, why not? Okay, and you have some new Bandai Gundam kits.
Yeah. I gotta say we're kind of behind. There's so much stuff coming out. Because Bandai was really good about like in the new year they kind of put out all the kits that are slated for release, and we don't really go that far ahead, right? But anyway, is some cool stuff coming out, I gotta say. So a couple of things we can go through. There is going to be so there's a cross promotion with this company in Japan that's like a clothing shop called Uniqlo.
Okay.
And I was telling Stuart that when I was in Japan, Uniqlo at the time, they do like a limited kind of, I don't know, fashion tees. But I got like a limited edition T-shirt, all with different Atom Boy, not Atom Boy. Atom Boy is a Japanese name in America, and North America is called.
Hang on. You keep talking. I'll look it up.
Yeah.
Astro Boy.
Astro Boy designs on it, and it's kind of just something different. So they're doing some kind of Uniqlo crossover.
And is just for Canadians, though.
I wonder. No, I just think it's that they're going to be maybe
finally coming to Canada,
licensed for retail, because that's a shop that, like at the Gap, you walk in, they're all they do different stuff. So, oh man, the most exciting Gundam news. This is awesome.
He's very excited, folks.
Yeah, this really caught my eye. There's going to be a HGUC 1:144 scale NRX 055 bound dock coming out in September. This is such an amazing design. I love this thing. So it's from the second TV show, Mobile Suit Zeta Gundam. And it was there was a lot of really weird esoteric designs going on at that time, and this is one of them. It's just it was great though. It was kind of in a couple episodes. There was two of them. One was like a full gray, and it was like a trainer, so it had like a dual cockpit, and then the second one was like a production type or a prototype maybe. But it's this massive thing. It has like a dog head, and there's like a claw arm, and so it's a mobile armor. So they're a lot bigger than the typical mobile suits, and they typically were like these kind of like massive prototypical weapons platforms. And or super weapons. That was kind of that's kind of what the essence of it is. Kind of like the equivalent of like a Nazi super weapon.
Okay.
And but I love it. I actually have a vintage kit from another maker called Kotobukiya. And or am I confused? Is it Wave? But it was a super limited garage kit from the 80s where it was like the body was made out of vinyl.
Okay.
And then it had like ABS parts for like the arms and like the internal structure and that kind of thing. But it looks like a ton of work. But this is going to be like a beautiful snap together kit. It will have all the right proportions and come with stickers and all that stuff. But yeah, it's awesome, and it's huge too. So there's a little size comparison. The Zeta kit of the Zeta Gundam in 1/24 scale is 138 millimeters, and the bound dock beside it is 190 millimeters. So you can
19 centimeters. Yeah, that's pretty big.
And it will fully transform. So it kind of like folds into itself into this mobile armor mode, and then it would like fully expand to have access to all the weapons. I think that was the idea.
Weapons and claws and all sorts of nasty things.
Close proximity weapons, yeah. It has like a giant, I want to say beam cannon on the on one side, but I love it. It's great. It's so cool. It's very weird.
Another one for the wish list.
Yeah, I don't know.
Bandai,
if you're crazy kit to build.
I know, but if there's anyone listening from Bandai or distributor, you'd make Anthony a very happy guy, and he'd build it up pretty awesome. Let me put it that way. Okay, let me ask you about the next two here. They talk about Metal Build, Launcher Striker, Alternative Strike Release Info, Metal Build Gundam. When they talk about metal, so are they actually using metals in the kits?
I believe that. Let me
because I'm looking at the Gundam. It's 27,000 yen.
Yeah, that's a lot of money. These, I think, have metal joints.
Okay.
Yeah, like metal sort of connection structure or like
yeah, that would make sense to me.
Internal skeletal joints. I'm sorry, I can't find that link though. Where are you?
Oh, it's just in the story below your on the link you're at. If you just scroll down below your
the metal. Okay, I see.
Yeah, there's two below there.
Repair.
One's an accessory set and one's the Gundam.
Okay, I think that they, these are like super premium kits where, dare I say, it's half toy or half figure and half kit. Yeah. So you sort of have to put it together, but it might come pre-painted and it's got all these metal parts, so it's weighty and sturdy. And there's a really huge figure collecting market that I don't really know much about, and they're often very pricey and kind of really highly engineered toys that look really close to the source material.
I was just looking at the Launcher Strike Pack, and it looks absolutely badass with the mech it's with a Strike Gundam.
Oh yeah.
So, yeah, because I guess it's the first one's all the extra weaponry you can add with one hell of a big gun, and then the other one's an actual Gundam Astray blue frame, second revision, alternate strike. That's the one for 27,500.
Just think about that. That is
the other one's 8,200 yen.
Okay, so that's about $100.
Right.
And you said 27,000?
27,500.
So that's like 300. I would say roughly $300. Although I don't know. The money markets may be slightly different from my usual knowledge.
But still, that's pretty.
Yeah, these are kind of not the model kits where you got to do all the work, right?
All right.
Yeah, but there's a whole bunch. There's a whole slew of kits coming out, which is cool. We talked about the bound dock, which I think is awesome because it's kind of an esoteric thing. It's kind of like a bad guy, suit that's featured in a couple episodes, which now I feel the urge to rewatch. But there's a couple of other new releases. There's HGBD, that's high grade build divers re-rise 1/1/4 scale on rise armor that's coming out in August. I don't know much about these, but there's from the same series another one called the Anima Rise, which is coming out in August 2020. Here, these prices 2,200 yen. So there's your $25, $30 model kit.
There you go.
Uh,
That's a bit more realistic.
there's
So
another,
yeah, some pretty cool
yeah,
stuff.
a couple more Gundams coming out. There's the Gundam Hajiru Boshi
Hmm.
release info for August 2020. There's a P Bandai Master Grade 1 to 100 flight unit for that. Looks like it goes with the Master Grade 1 to 100 scale Gundam
Right.
Ashtray Red Frame kit. And
I
then,
noticed on
yeah,
the second page of that they've got a MS General Purpose Hangar, Gundam Base Limited. So it looks like it's like
yeah,
like almost like warehouse racking, but it's kind of a facility, I guess, where they'd service the
yeah.
vehicles. That's kind of cool.
Like in a lot of the mobile suits where they're assigned to ships,
Right.
so they have like a big docking bay, mechanic bay kind of
Yeah.
thing. And so Gundam Base is the official Bandai store in Tokyo, and they
Right.
get all kinds of crazy releases that are like Gundam Base exclusives. So they're all
Right.
like, obviously the prices are a little bit, they're a little bit jacked up, frankly.
Yeah.
But
Well, this
yeah, those
has
are
all
neat.
three scales,
Yeah.
1/60th, 1/100th, and 1/144. So
I
they're
think it's modular, so you can put it
looks like it.
together in the way
Yeah.
you want
Yeah,
to.
exactly. Which makes sense. So that's kind of cool. Again,
Yeah,
you can have a little diorama idea or whatever.
yeah, they're
So
great.
yeah,
Yeah,
I know. Like I said, I've learned so much about this stuff, and it
it's
is
its
neat.
own world almost
It
in a
is.
way.
It
Yeah,
really is. It really is. So
yeah.
there we go. So let's move on to what's hot at ScaleMates.
All right.
So these are the 200 hottest kits. The link, obviously the Stug 3 we talked about from Tacom,
Hmm.
the new Ming Warrior, the Huey, the Tiger Moth, that SR-71 Blackbird from Revell. That's still fairly high up, considering it's not coming out until next year.
Can't wait to see more about that.
Yeah, that's going to be a bit of a beast.
The Tiger
The
Moth is there.
Tiger Moth, the KA-52. Tecom's doing a change parts for its M60A1 patent.
Hmm.
Yeah, all sorts of different things. Now, here's an interesting one. Kinetic's coming out with a drone, an MQ-9 Reaper drone in 1/48 scale.
Okay,
All
I've
new,
seen some pretty cool models
all
of
new
drones
tool.
before.
Yep. So that's an all new tool. ICM's going to come out with a Cessna O2A Skymaster. That was a recon aircraft they used in
Hmm.
Vietnam and that. That's in
Oh, I love
2020.
that.
Yeah, in
Yeah,
48 scale.
reminds me of the
Wolfpack
Bronco a
is,
little bit.
yeah, Wolfpack's coming out with a F5EF Tiger 2 in
Hmm.
1/72nd scale. So yeah, all sorts of neat new little things.
Hmm.
I'm just seeing what else
A
is
Saturn,
here.
Dragon. That's a new tool for 2020, a 72nd scale Saturn 1B rocket from the Apollo program.
That's going to be huge.
That will
1/72nd
be,
scale, you said?
yeah, it was
Yeah.
giant.
Wow. That's just
Yeah,
going to be absolutely huge. I'm just seeing if you're, oh, good. Your carrier deck section is still there from its salary. Just so you know,
yep.
it's
I've
further
been looking
further down
around.
the
I
page.
can't find out where to buy that yet.
I don't know if it's been released yet or not.
For perhaps it's coming and not out.
Let's see here. It says, well, it's a Reebok, so you should find it somewhere.
I know I've seen it on a shelf before.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
I
It
think
says
he
it's a
kind of went,
Reeboks.
yeah, it went out of production and it was like sort of not a common thing. So it's not like they're floating around. So I've been
Yeah.
looking for it.
Yeah. Okay. So that's all from
Sometimes.
Scalemates. Okay. Let's move on. So that's all the news that's fit to print or whatever you want to do. So what's the scoop? What's the scoop this week?
What do we have today? So we have something cool from Sean's Custom Model Tools, who we
Yes.
all and we enjoy his stuff. And he of course is the producer of the super cool super stands for the
I've heard of
Super Stand
those.
box.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've heard of
So
those.
he's opened up an Etsy shop.
Yep.
So Etsy's like that perfect kind of storefront, that online storefront.
A lot of
You,
crafters started with, and yeah.
handmade stuff, low
Yep.
production stuff, yeah, crafters kind of goods
Yep.
or handmade stuff. So this is really nice. I love this. So he's got. I think beforehand you could kind of reach him via Facebook,
Hmm.
which is fine, but it's sort of certainly not.
Not everyone likes Facebook.
Yeah, it's not always the best platform to launch your super cool tools. So he's got a really nice looking page here. I like this.
Yeah, and this is yeah. So he's got his 4 base products there for now.
Hmm.
I'm sure he'll be expanding it soon.
Oh yeah,
Um,
definitely.
Yeah, so I think he literally put this out this week. So I saw a post from him, I think within the last 24 hours. But yeah, this will be really good for another way to get his amazing products. And as I said, we
Yeah,
love his products. The sanding blocks for the stands are just absolutely great. He's got the
blew my
model
mind.
tape dispenser. Yep,
That thing's awesome.
yep,
I've been using that tape dispenser. I've got 4 different widths of
yep.
tape rolls lined up in it. It is really cool. I gotta say, it's awesome.
Yeah, I got to get one from him. I had the one here where I took the photos because
Hmm.
fair warning, all these photos I took for him, fair
Yes.
disclosure, and I told him please feel free to use them, and I'm really pleased they've come out so well. But yeah, I'm gonna get a dispenser from them at some point. They're really really good. Uh, yeah, absolutely fabulous. So definitely check that out on Etsy from our good friends there. Okay, so how about that? How about that for a nice segue? We talk about super sanding block stands.
Yes.
What's going on at
Yeah.
Goodman Models with the super sanding blocks?
Well, I've been just building up a supply. I've been sending out orders. People, I think, have been haven't had any complaints about the timing because I used to ship sort of next day when an order
Hmm.
came in.
Right.
So I'm used to kind of providing a very quick shipping service. I just because of the way things are going with COVID-19 and social distancing, I've just set a limit. I go out every 2 weeks, and any orders that I collect during those periods, they get shipped out on that day. So my next shipping day is May the 1st. And yeah, I was working on them today a little bit, and I still have website work to do, but this is a time if you're working on model kits, you want that confidence when you're sanding away those seams,
Yep.
or you're working on your kit, or you're even just shaping parts to fit better. That's what you get from the super sanding blocks. You can get a full set that has a bunch of grits that kind of helps you get through the whole construction phase. And it doesn't matter if it's resin or plastic, but the roughest grit, the lowest grit is 80, and the highest grit is 600. So it really covers off a huge kind of range. Anything you're going to be working on where you want to just quickly and cleanly feel that positive contact on the model, and
Right.
you've got a really nice seam or a nice flat surface. Yeah.
So what does someone get? So like I know you've got two different what we call value packs. You've got the value pack combo and you've got
Yes.
the value pack. Maybe just briefly describe what the difference between the two are, and then what do you get in
Yes.
each one?
Yeah. So initially, when I was sort of coming up with the set idea, as I was saying about the grits, it starts at 80, and when you buy the value pack, you get the whole set, which is 6 grits. So it's 80, 180, 220, 320, 400, 600. And you get those wet dry blocks. So if you want to do wet sanding, you get a nice polish. It kind of keeps the dust down a little bit. So that's a great place to start. You get the entire set. You're ready to rock. You really are gonna be impressed by how it helps you get through your construction phase. And since the introduction of the Super Stand, manufactured by Sean at Sean Custom Model Tools, I have the official green versions. So kind of green is sort of my theme for my
Hmm.
website and my logo. So I asked him to make me the green ones, and he offers custom colors and other colors. So I've offered a slightly discounted um, super sanding block value pack combo. So you get the normal 6 set, and you get a stand in there, and I think it's $1. It's $1 cheaper than buying them separate.
Cool.
So yeah, and they're both available at goodmanmodels.com.
Right, in addition, the sanding, both combos come nicely packed in a nice box. You get complete instructions, and most importantly, a nice little color guide because each of the sanding blocks have a little color dot that you put in, which I think is
Yeah,
great, and it allows you to match up and you know which grid is which.
yeah, for sure. And like it used to be in the olden days, in the early days, I used to write. I was writing the grit sort of in numerals on the side, but what
Right.
happens is you get working, um, especially on resin builds, right?
Yeah.
And you're touching them, and you're doing wet sanding. You're getting a bit wet, and it was rubbing off. So it came
Yeah.
up with the idea that it's going to be like a countersunk
Yeah. It's
label.
genius.
Yeah.
Genius.
If
Yep.
you want
And
to know a
it's on
fun
both sides, right?
fact, yeah, a fun fact, it's just
Yeah.
Tamiya paint. It's just
There you
titanium
go.
model paint in the X range, and
Well,
I put them in.
You know what? And what I like too is it's on both sides, both edges. So no matter which way you put
Yes.
it back in the stand, you're going to see the color there.
Or lying
So,
on your bench, right? That was
or
kind of the
lying on
thought.
your bench. Yeah,
You can quickly
exactly.
grab the one you want. So yeah,
Yeah. But the
tons of
stands are great because
oh,
you don't have to worry about them rubbing against each other and stuff like that. So,
I just like that it kind of adds a little bit of order to the chaos of the
exactly.
workbench.
It's classy. And then you get the logo, the limited edition. What more would anyone want?
Yes, it's
I
everything
tell you.
you need. I guess a sweet airbrush compressor is probably the other thing you
Well,
want,
that would
but
be the other thing. Yeah. Punch that,
can't help you with
your
that.
beer delivered, but no, we can't do
Yes.
anything about that. So just remind everyone again where we can get those, not only
Yeah,
at
check
Goodman Models.
goodmanmodels.com. You can get the full range is available right now, but they're also in stock at flexifile.com, Section 8 in Buffalo, section8.com. Wheels and Wings in Toronto, who are also doing mail order
Yep,
and curbside pickup. Oh boy, I'm gonna try to think. In Australia,
yep,
there's two distributors, SJS Hobbies and War Game Miniatures has a
yes.
full. They have a full line of different colored super stands too, which is kind of neat. I don't even have those. I just have the
Yeah,
the
that's
the,
cool.
the green. Yeah, so they're definitely pick up a set. It's gonna help you out.
Yep.
Um, and of course, I hope everyone is digging into their stashes, and now's the time, right?
Now is the time. Now
Yeah.
is the time. Okay, let's move on. We had an awesome interview this week.
Hmm.
This is one we've been wanting to interview for a while because we mention this site every week. And that is, of course, scalemates.com, the
Yeah.
ultimate user submitted, user created database. So Tim Verreek is the operator
Veriki.
owner. Veriki, I screwed that up,
Veriki.
didn't I? Hey,
It's
what
okay.
else
I
is new,
got your
right?
back.
He's out of Belgium, and we had an absolute awesome interview about how long ScaleMates has been running, some of the stuff behind the scenes, stuff like that, and it
It's
was
wild.
just an awesome interview. So I'm not going to say anything more. We're just going to go right into it right now. Welcome to the scalepodcast.com interview. And today we've got someone I've wanted to have on personally to interview for a while. And that's Tim Bariki from scalemates.com. Regular listeners to the podcast know we do talk about scalemates every episode because we always
Yeah.
link. Yeah, we link to them basically for the hot kits of the day and all that. And I should also not forget my co-host Anthony Goodman is here.
I am. Hey,
I
how's it
am.
going, Stu?
Not bad. So Tim started modeling when he was 12, mainly in 1/72nd scale and a mix of planes and Revell figures. His main passion over the last years are helicopters in 48th and 35th. He says the Huey and the H-60 family is a pleasure to the eye. Jets from the 90 with busy cockpits like the Tornado or Phantom puts a smile on his face. Next to the building part of the hobby, he started his internet modeling career while at university. He ran, and I'm going to slaughter this one, model versamin.de for many years, an online magazine with models and reviews. Scale-rotors.com was also on his activity list, and he has plans to revamp that. 11 years ago, he started with the idea of scalemates.com. These three projects were a great way to meet and work together with many people across the globe. Tim, welcome to the Scale Model Podcast.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
So 11 years ScaleMate's been going? Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, going fast.
Yes. Okay. And you're in Belgium today. So what's the weather like in Belgium?
Today it was great weather. The kids were outside in the pool, so it was a fun day today.
Good, good. So get them to work some energy off.
Yes.
Always tough when we're all inside. Yeah. Well, in London, Ontario, where we are, it's a nice sunny day. It's probably a bit colder, but still a nice day. So
Mm-hmm.
let's get into it. So as I said, for those who don't know, have been living under a rock. Just briefly describe. How would you describe ScaleMates for someone who's never seen it?
Okay. ScaleMates is, I would say, the easiest part. It's a scale modeling database. So everything related to scale modeling, be it kits, be it paints, be it events, be it reviews, can be found on ScaleMate. So that's one part, and then there is a second part, and there is with that database you can also do stash management and collection management. So scale modelers can keep track of the kits they build, the kits they want to have on their wish lists, but they also can create projects like I'm building like an F16 with these colors and these aftermarket sets. They can bundle everything nicely together, keep track of everything, and then also, if they want, expose it to a more, let's say, a Facebook-like newsfeed.
Oh, okay.
That's the short version.
That's the short note. That's awesome. So yeah, it's interesting how there's similar sites depending on different hobbies. My wife is a knitter, and she has a site called Ravelry, and it's kind of interesting some of the parallels. They've been independently. It's the same idea, but yeah, I discovered it. Oh goodness me, 6 or 7 years ago, and I have to admit I haven't kept my stash up to date. But it's rather hilarious seeing some of these. So what made you decide? What made you decide to start it 11 years ago?
Yeah, 11 years ago. So I was working on the German modeling website, and like many other websites, like great websites like Hyperscale, Aircraft Resource Center, Missing Links, we had the issue that whatever we did, how much effort we would take, it would be impossible to have everything related to scale modeling on a single website. And then I said, maybe I should create a search engine. We started as a search engine, which would crawl all the different cool, great existing websites, and then just make it easier for the scale modeler to search for gallery articles like in a certain scale or linked to a certain topic. So that was the first part. And then the second part is, okay, I didn't want to limit it to gallery articles. I also wanted to link it to reviews, because you have many review websites on the web, some excellent, like Bird Military Modeling. Those reviews are really loved. And when I created the website, I really didn't want to create like one of the many others. I wanted to create something which was completely new and which would not, I didn't want to create like any competition with the existing cool websites out there. So I also wanted to create like a database with reviews. But the issue was the only way to link related reviews is to have a kit entry. Like, okay, what are all the reviews from an F16 from Tamiya, for example? And then I was okay, then I need a database of all the kit models. And that's how ScaleMates actually was born. Okay, so I need a kit database in order to have the reviews. How will I get people to add items to the database? And it's like, okay, maybe then I can add a stash management and everything, which then like bundled together in, I need a huge kit database. And from day one, I wanted to be like a Wikipedia style that everybody can add items themselves. And that was how it was born. So initially a search engine, and then there was a missing link, and then it became, like, let's say, the kit database was the main idea.
Wow. So I just want to, just so I understand exactly. So you were taking the reviews that were popping up from other established scale model websites and then aggregating them into ScaleMates, and then based on, you could search it by the kit subject. Is that correct? Yeah.
Correct. So
do you have any? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Okay. So, and the reason, because in the end, if you look at why did I think like, hey, because you have Google, right? If in Google you type in review, the thing is, on some websites, reviews are called inbox reviews. Some call them previews. Then you have multilingual. You have in German it's called something else. In French it's called something else. And if you have a popular subject, then it's fine. You'll find a good result. But if you're looking for a review which is a bit more exotic, then in Google you might need to type in 10 search terms before you get to the result, because you didn't know it exists on a small Spanish club website. But that's the topic you wanted to have. So that was the idea, beating Google and make it user friendly for the scale modeler world to find relevant reviews. And from day one, I never had the intention to create my own reviews. I didn't want to go into that, let's say, the review business. I've done that for many years with my German website. But yeah, that was how the idea was born. But you also had a question, I think, when I interrupted you.
Oh, I was gonna. Was there any issues? So when you were adding these or linking, I guess, to other established sites, was there any challenges with like getting permission or coordinating with them, or was there any pushback from having those links show up in your site, or did people welcome that?
People welcome that. I did ask a few persons like Brett Green and then Steve Bam from ARC just to have like a feeling. But in the end, it's just a link, right? I don't.
Yeah.
There is no. It's not that I'm even if people go in via my website, yeah, there is just a list of links. So that's not. That was not harming them. It was in contrary, it was just pushing more traffic to them.
Yeah, everybody benefits. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, very good. Let me just have a look here. I did want to ask you also about. So it sounds like you have quite a bit of computer-based skills, setting up databases. I mean, it seems like it's a very comprehensive website. What kind of effort does it take to run that kind of project?
Oh, that's a very tough one, and I think my wife will have a feeling that it's much more. I think that there are two parts, right? One is pure, let's say, the building of the website itself, the database, the programming, and that's in the end just a small portion of the effort, because the biggest effort is, and I think that's to all the contributors on ScaleMates. So everybody, the benefit of ScaleMates is that as soon as you join, you can start contributing, and that can be just fixing one little, let's say, typo who somebody else did, adding an additional missing box art. That's fine, as we have thousands of scale modelers who, let's say, occasionally make one additional entry, and I thanks for that. But next to those, you also have some power contributors. For example, the contributor who made the most database entries or database changes, he did 187,000 changes over the last. Yeah, that's crazy.
So people are very passionate about contributing to ScaleMates. That's awesome.
Yeah, that's really cool. So the amount of, I don't have I don't have an idea about how much effort they spent on it, but that's I think a significant amount of the time goes in is done by the ScaleMates contributors who improve the database, who add missing items, who clean up, who make things more consistent, and so
I think it's a common thing. It's very similar to the whole Wikipedia model. You'll see that. You'll see a few people are really big time to do it in that. So that's pretty awesome. So you were saying before we went on the air, you've got some other stats, because I know on your site you actually you have an area where you talk about some fun facts and stuff like that.
Yes.
So again, for all the nerds among us, all the computer nerds, how much storage space, or can you tell me roughly how much storage space it is to host all this content?
Okay, so ScaleMates currently has 12 million images.
Wow.
Okay.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So that's all, and that is all the product images, so box art images in different versions, because ScaleMates is also optimized for mobile. So we have, if you're on a mobile device, you will serve a smaller image than when you're on your, let's say, your MacBook Pro. So that's one part, and then we have a significant amount of people who manage their albums, so their projects and the stuff they're working on, and they can add images into their personal albums to document what they're doing. So that also is a huge amount of data. So I think, let me remember, I think we must have like 3 terabytes of image data, just the images.
That's amazing.
Oh, wow. Unbelievable. And I've seen again in the similar area, you've got like people who's put their collections on, and I think the top guy has something like 7,000 entries marked under their stash. It's just amazing. Now, are you finding the kit manufacturers now are adding stuff, directly? Because I do notice from time to time that you seem to be a glut. Like a couple of weeks ago, I saw someone put up a lot of AMT cars, for example. new releases coming out, or
Mhm.
like I see Hong Kong Hobbies has an F4 Phantom, British Phantom coming out soon. Do you think, or do you know if that's sometimes the manufacturers or the actual just distributors?
Yeah, and that's a good point, because when I started ScaleMates 10 years ago, I thought, you know what, creating a scale modeling database must be easy, right? You send one email to Revel, you send one email to Tamia, one to Edward, and you
Yeah,
just ask
yeah,
them, hey, can I get whatever, an Excel sheet with all the products you ever released, product number, scale, and title must be easy.
right.
And
How did that work out?
it was, I went to Nuremberg, the toy fair. I did
Yes.
like I spent like 2 days talking to all the vendors 11 years
Hmm.
ago, that was. And I think the only one who was able to give me a list was a small Polish uh, company, and they had 1,000 items. All the rest didn't have the info, or didn't know how to get
Yeah.
the info. So that was, yeah, that was tough one. Now we do have, especially the smaller, let's say the smaller companies, aftermarket companies. Some of them, they're actually heavy contributors on ScaleMates, and they add their own stuff, but also sometimes missing other items. But in general, I think it's more the scale modeling community rather than the exceptional hobby, I'd say, hobby manufacturers.
Right. Yeah, because it is interesting to see some of the trends, especially with the new items and how they're added to the database. Because and I've said before, one of the frustrations we find is quite often these manufacturers, their websites are several months back, but then they
Yeah,
post to Facebook directly, and I wish it would, they'd be a little bit more equal. So yeah, like I say, there's been times, like I say, this week we're going to mention that Hong Kong Hobbies Phantom. Same thing with I know this is one you'll be excited about. Kitty Hawk's got a UH-1B Huey coming out in
yeah.
1/35 this year.
Mhm.
That
Um,
one is on my wish list since I think 2 seconds after it was added to the
yeah,
database.
I can imagine. You probably have a search. If equals helicopter, check it out. Okay, so let's move on a little bit. What's the biggest change you've seen in the hobby industry, and how are you adapting to it? Or how do you think you're going to have to adapt to it? And of course, we've got changes, right now with COVID-19 and things like
Mhm.
that. So just a general thing in terms of your site and your site's future, etc.
Yeah, so like when I 11 years ago when I started, 3D printing was just barely starting to get off. So that's something where we had to adapt, so to allow 3D printing items in the database.
Hmm.
So that's one thing. Um, And then the second thing, you see it, we also have a shop database. So the idea was, okay, suppose you go traveling to Paris, and you want to know which scale modeling shops are there. That was like a common question in every forum,
Yeah.
every like, hey, next week I'm in Madrid, which hobby shops? So I said, okay, maybe I should just add a shop database. But the amount of shops which have been closed in the last 10 years, it's, yeah,
Yeah,
that's
that's a
really,
good
yeah.
point.
So
Yeah.
that's something I've seen. Um, and then the other thing is, if you look at the amount of aftermarket sets, it continues to skyrocket, because I know on one hand we say, oh, the hobby is dying, uh, but on the other hand, if you look at the amount of new releases, cool new releases, I'm not talking about the reboxing of an old kit from the 60s, but some of the new stuff which is being added is really, really, really nice. So the quality, I would say, if you look at the quality of the kits compared to 10 years or 20 years ago, yeah, really has
Mhm.
changed drastically in a positive way.
Awesome.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we're seeing that too, right, Stu?
Oh yeah.
Um, so have you in doing this project and even your other websites? I mean, you've obviously met with other people in the industry. Um, what are you hearing out in the community outside of your local your local area, or have you had a chance to talk with people from different communities about, is the hobby dying, or what are you seeing out there?
Yeah, so I think we can. If you look at when I look at my own club, so I'm with the K&K Blue Shirts, which is a cool club here in Belgium, and yeah, when I joined the club, we had a few. I was like the youngest one joining.
Okay.
Now, 10 years, 20 years later, I wouldn't say that I'm still the youngest one, but I'm still one of the youngest. So you have that. So you have, let's say, there is no. Of course, there were always exceptions, but in general, there is like no flood of new young people coming in. But in the end, if you look at I think we are still. I wouldn't be pessimistic. We're still with many enthusiasts where kits are still being released. Many aftermarket sets are being released, and I think the positive thing is that many of the scale modelers are not. They're also next to builders. They're also collectors, so they somehow fund the hobby for all the rest of us.
Yeah. Are you noticing like a big increase or like a new community of like the gaming models and the science fiction and Gundam, Star Wars? Are you seeing in your neck of the woods people getting into that, like younger crowds? Is that something that's gaining popularity in your area?
Yeah, I think so, because like Gundam and these things were like initially not on this in the ScaleMates database, because it's scale modeling, but it's like not really. Now I need to be careful what I say, but it's like a different type of scale modeling than building like a Spitfire or a Messerschmitt 109. Still, I see some awesome skills there. So initially, when we started, it was not really in the database. There was like not also a big demand for it. Like, hey, this is missing. But when you look at the last years, some, really, let's say Gundam lovers, they went into the database and really completed things. Or it was like just one topic. We have on ScaleMates, everything is linked into related items, so everything related to the Tomcat fits into one topic. And initially we just had like one Gundam topic with 20 items in it. Now we hundreds of different topics, everything well nicely grouped and categorized. So that's something we see. Yes.
Interesting. Yeah. So that's kind of the new wave, let's say, that, I mean, we're seeing certainly in North America, Canada, United States, obviously in Asia and Japan, China has been popular for a long time. But so that's an interesting observation about it's a bit of a late joiner to the website, to the database, but it is popping up. I know we've looked through it, I think, to figure out a couple dates on kits for Gundam out of curiosity. I remember Stuart and I looked through something to check out a kit and it was there, which is very cool.
And that's what I say. It's one of the absolute strengths of the site. Anytime I recommend the site to someone, I basically say, be prepared to spend a couple of hours, because the historical part, the kit history, it's awesome. Is just absolutely great. And the way you graphically do that is just awesome. The way you can go back, and there's stuff I haven't realized that, this was previously a Matchbox mold, or and as I say, it's you've got to really, you've got so much fantastic data now and the ability to easily find it. It's just a fantastic and go to resource. So speaking of stuff in the database, is there anything funny or notable about stuff that's been either entered or attempted to be entered in the database over the years? Like any funny stories?
The first thing is every day I get 3 or 4 emails of people who say that they don't like my website because they can't figure out how to buy items. So every day is like, hey, your website, I want to buy this. Is it available? Do you ship to Toronto? Do you ship to Sydney? So that's one thing. But like once every month, I really get like one angry, like super angry, and it's so angry that's kind of funny, where they say like, hey, I really want to spend my money on your website, and I don't know why you make it so difficult. My money is here, I want to spend it on your website, and then I always need to answer, but yeah, the website is free. You can't buy anything on ScaleMates. Yeah, so that's something I need to fix.
Oh.
And then another fun, yeah, everybody can join straight away.
Yeah.
And I think I was like 3 weeks. I was 3 weeks with my wife. That was really in the early days. I was 3 weeks with my wife backpacking in Indonesia, and I think after day 5, I was like checking, like, well, I was somewhere in an internet cafe checking, and I noticed that, I don't know, some lady, and I think she was called Lady Kiss Kiss, and she sent like to the 10,000 members back then all a message saying why they should marry her. And yeah, so I remember being somewhere on, my wife was not happy, somewhere in the middle of Indonesia, in the worst internet cafe you can imagine, in the middle of nowhere, trying to fix the database.
Oh dear.
Oh my goodness. So sorry, was this did you say this was the only like female member or contributor? I missed the beginning of the story.
No, this was more a step hammer. We actually have if you look at all the scale modeling database, we have males, females, other genders. We have a mix, a diversity mix of everything.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, and that's one thing we were talking about the Gundams earlier, because I noticed, like, even in the last few years, the car modelers now are really starting to add stuff. So it's definitely a more concise way to do it. Yeah, exactly. Okay, Anthony, you're up next with our next question.
Yeah. We wanted to ask you about where do you think the hobby, what might it look like in 5 to 10 years? Any notable changes or trends that you're seeing from behind the database?
Yeah, I think unfortunately the trend of smaller shops closing will unfortunately continue. I hope I'm wrong, but I think that will be that's unfortunate. So that's let's say the sad part of the things. If you look at the hobby itself, I think with 3D printing, there's so many smaller little companies who make like the coolest stuff ever, and the quality is awesome. Let's say the ease of use is awesome, and the good thing is, I think the issue with resin, if you look at the resin quality, is you can have the best scale modeler in the world making the nicest things, but if he didn't have the technique to do cast resin properly without bubbles, you could still have you could still end up with a mediocre product. And I think with 3D printing, if it looks good I know it's also not that easy, but if you can really design on the computer, and the quality which comes out of it can really be nice and fancy. So that's I think 3D printing is there for the future. And another thing is, if you look at the quality of the kits and the ease of use and the time, I like the design of some of the new Tamiya kits, but also some other brands. Just the design behind it is so lovely, that you don't have seams, or that you don't spend X hours cleaning up things just because the layout of the parts is much better. And I think that will just end up in making the hobby also a bit more accessible. Maybe also when everybody gets a bit older, that we can be more productive because we don't lose time with the stupid stuff. We can just create nice things, paint nice, weather nice, rather than spending hours and hours like I did trying to get rid of a seam on a fuel tank. So I think the quality of the kits and 3D printing, that is really where I see we are going, or at least the positive part, which I see.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so you know what? I was just thinking when Anthony was asking about that, because I was going to ask this as well. For things like 3D printing, is there a way like right now you've got kits and aftermarket and decal. Is there a way at some point you're going to look at maybe, making a separate category for 3D model product? I was also going to suggest podcasts as well.
Yeah, so from a scale database, you can mark that it contains 3D printed parts. Now from a scale modeling database, in the end, I still see it's like an aftermarket set for certain kits, and it doesn't matter if it's resin, if it's 3D printed. It can already be added to the database today. So how it's manufactured, like was it injection molded or vacuum formed or resin cast or 3D printed, is you can already indicate that today.
Yeah, because I know I've done some search the odd time, and if I do a search on 3D, but obviously I have to tie into it more. And as I say, you've got books and magazines. I think I've put our podcast under there, but it's, again, a separate category would be nice. Hint, hint. So something to think about. So we're just almost wrapping up here. What's currently on your own workbench?
Oh, that's a tough question. Right now, I don't spend that much. Unfortunately, I have two kids, so ScaleMates is also not my main job. It's my side job.
Right.
So the amount of time I can spend on the workbench is really, really limited.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm still working on a Tornado in scale 1 to 32.
Okay.
So which I started many years ago, but I'm still on it. So it's the Revel kit. It has a very lovely black box resin set. I sculpted with Magic Sculpt the exhaust covers and the intake covers, and then I have many books, many internet pictures, and then I'm I love scratch building,
Right.
so I'm also working on that one.
Awesome. I noticed you were nice enough to send us some pictures, and we are going to put the pictures up on the show notes with this interview. And that must be a large kit in 30-second scale. That's a beast of a kit.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's a beast of a kit, but for a lovely plane.
Right. So one of the other things I was going to say is, before we give you the last word, is one of the most important parts. And again, I often forget about it, but people who've logged into ScaleMates, and you're talking about how it's up to the community, one of the area I think is just genius is, once you're logged in, if you go to the contribute tab, and then it actually shows you that anything that you have in your stash, if it's missing box art or instruction sheets or stuff like that. So it's a good way, if you feel like you want to contribute, by all means do that. Because I notice here I have 3 that, I will, I'll find the instruction sheets and I'll get them scanned and entered. And an awful lot of other, things where if someone's saying, oh, I don't know how to contribute, well, start with that. And basically go there, and you can definitely help the community. So we're going to give you the last word. Is there anything else you want to talk about ScaleMates, or anything like that? Anything else coming soon or coming new, or anything else you want to mention to our listening audience?
So right now I spent a lot of time like either working on new features or working on fixing performance issues or scalability issues, validating that security is good. So it's always a mix. But we have a feature requests section recently where all the scale modelers can ask or request new features, bug fixes. So currently I'm going through that list, and thanks to the patience of for many of the feature requests. But I'm currently going to that list. Is not going for a big change, rather working on improving what is there, and little things which can improve productivity, with little things which make it easier to search. That's what I'm currently working on.
Yeah, I'm just looking at that now when you mentioned that about the options there. A lot of it's like just things like duplicate entries and stuff like that. But no, it's awesome. I love seeing when people say, how do you enter a new pay range? So it sounds like someone's going to be doing that, and things like that. Absolutely awesome. Well, okay, we're gonna wrap this up. Again, I just want to say, Tim, you are doing a fantastic job. I know myself and many other modelers really appreciate the work you and anyone else who helps you, to do this, to make ScaleMates the resource it is. It's just absolutely awesome. Again, I'm behind. I've got to add more to my stash just so I know I can contribute a bit more. And again, we really appreciate it because again, it's one way we get the knowledge of some of these fantastic kits. So
Absolutely.
that's great. And maybe at some point in the future we'll have you back on with what else is happening. And as I say, we're happily linking with you every time we do a podcast episode because we feel it's that important a site to the modeling community worldwide.
Thank you for that.
Okay, so that's going to be at this time. So Tim, thank you again. We'll let you get back to. Hopefully, you'll find 5 minutes to work on your kits here and there.
Yeah, I hope so. Now with the quarantine and the COVID-19, I hope I can make some time for that. But it was a pleasure talking to you and a great podcast you have.
Okay, thank you very much. Tim. Okay, like I said, just an absolutely awesome interview. That I was very impressed with some of the stories he had, and and some of the stuff. And the neat thing is, everyone can contribute. So definitely keep that in mind. So
it's such a bigger, because of that fact that it's sort of like user driven or whatever. It's such a bigger thing than he could have ever possibly done on his own, right? Like I found all kinds of crazy stuff in there. I do want to mention. So I'm working on this Type 89 AFE. It's like a Japanese, like I don't know, it's equivalent to like a Bradley, that kind of roll. Right. And man, somebody's got uploaded on there like an amazing picture set of exactly that thing, and it's a little bit of a, like a lesser known vehicle, right? So I couldn't believe it. I'm like, boom, there it is. That's awesome.
Oh yeah, they have so many things. It's one of those ones. The first time you go, reserve about 3 hours. You will get sucked in. It's just, especially the kit history. That's where we find out if things are repops or not, or other companies have leased the mold, stuff like that. And again, they're always looking for submissions. They really want to see more. There's quite a bit of aircraft and armors, traditional stuff, but they'd love to see more sci-fi, the Gundam stuff, more cars. We're slowly but surely. So. Yeah, it's pretty good. Most of it's still user submitted, as you heard. I asked the question about what the companies are, but most of it's still like just user submitted. So definitely check that out. Okay, we also have a second topic because we figure since we're not going weekly, we'll just make a longer show. So the power of taking a break from the bench. This kind of came up over for me on the weekend. Normally for me, Friday or Saturday, usually Saturday night is a good time when I get a lot of work done on the bench. Lately, I've been hosting a video hangout with some of my fellow podcasters and stuff like that. This week I didn't. I started working, and I was working on that Valkyrie, and I was ham-fisting the darn thing. Now, granted, I'm working on the landing gear doors, which is always fiddly, things like that. So I thought, okay, I'm not doing this tonight. And then I started working on a final stripe for a Spitfire, and I totally buggered that up. So I thought, okay, I'm not doing anything else on the bench tonight. I put the tools down and went upstairs and caught up on some reading. And I think it's important to realize, especially with these times, and we've talked about it too, how these are stressful times. But
absolutely.
In any time, it is a hobby. You want to enjoy yourself. You should never be in a state where you're forcing yourself to get something done, because I'll guarantee you, if you force and rush, you're going to screw it up. And I've learned that the hard way far too many times. So
of course,
this way I just, I'm not on a schedule. Some modelers build quicker than me, some build slower. I build for me. And it's really important, as I was saying, especially now. Do you recall any time that's happened to you?
Oh man, it's a real sign of maturity to recognize when you need to set something down and come back tomorrow with a fresh set of eyes, or not as tired, or maybe less frustrated. I've had those things where everything's falling apart in your hands, and it's just disaster, and you're trying to do too much, or you're trying to push it. That's sort of, I've learned to really just settle down.
Yep.
set it
Yep.
down, walk away, come back tomorrow, and then usually you've got a new sense of resolve, if it's if it's a
Exactly.
problem point. But yeah, just you got to take it easy sometimes, because
Yep.
like you mentioned, if you're not having fun,
No, you're not going to do it.
it's a
You're not
question,
going to do
right?
it. Yeah, and this is the thing I find. I'm so busy at work, particularly during the week. I model to relax, but sometimes to get into the relaxation mode, I can't have other thoughts swirling around. And
Yeah.
that's what sometimes happens too. Like for some people, that's what allows them to clear their mind. In my case, I have to have a little bit of focus, and for that, I don't want things cluttering up. And that,
Mm-hmm.
if I'm thinking about a complex problem I'm trying to solve at work, I really shouldn't be doing something complicated. And at the moment, I'm in the
Yeah.
final phase, and I'll talk about this when we get to the what's on the bench part.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in fiddly parts of both builds, and
Yeah.
I've got to
Yeah.
really kind of be careful where if I broke my own rule and started something new, I could do some assembly in that, and that wouldn't be a problem. But I
Yep.
am trying to get these done, and like I said, we'll talk about that a little bit in a minute. So yeah,
Oh
just
yeah.
just just be aware, folks. Just make sure you take a break from time to time. If that's happened to you, we'd love to hear your story. I got to throw it
For
on the
sure.
Facebook page.
Absolutely.
Okay, our talking tools statement. We're something really general, but we could spend a long time, or we could, talking about this.
Mhm.
But I think just a quick little overview, all about brushes, hairy sticks,
Yeah.
whatever you want to
The
call it.
hairy sticks. I never
The
heard that
hairy
until the
sticks.
the boys from on the bench start talking about what tool is that? I've never.
Oh yeah, that's a
And then
Commonwealth. That's an English
wait, they're talking about
Australian.
paint.
Yeah, that's what they call it over there, the hairy
I thought it
stick.
was some like cool thing that I hadn't heard
No,
of yet. I was like, oh,
no,
I gotta have that.
you already do.
Yes. Well, man, there's a lot to say about brushes, isn't there? I recently, I don't have any Kolinsky brushes yet, which are highly regarded. I think those are actually artists.
Those are
So
artist ones. The figure
they're
guys
artists.
love it. Yeah.
Yeah, but again, right? It's all about the build quality, right? The
Hmm.
everything about it, especially the bristle. There's a huge difference in the way, what they're made out of horsehair, I think, the like proper fine art brushes, and
Yeah,
then you
there's
get,
synthetic, there's
yeah,
organic. Yeah, exactly.
these things, the way they flow and they function. So like anything else, you get what you pay for. Recently got a really nice set of I got a set of Mung brushes where it gave me
That's
a bunch
sweet.
of different sizes, and I was
Right. Yeah, I
really,
remember you were talking about that.
yeah,
Yeah.
I've had these for a while and they've been great. So I've got like a 00 pointed, a number 1 pointed, a number 1 flat, a number 4 pointed, and a number 4 flat. And this has been really good. And then I was at a show when we had those, and at the Flexifile booth. I can't remember if I was working with them that day or not, but I got one of their brushes,
Hmm.
and it's beautiful. It's a 10-0,
Okay.
so very small.
Yep.
And they have like an interesting sort of fluted handle where it kind of expands into like a triangular shaped grip, and it's been really really good for fine stuff. Man, there's a lot of different brushes for depending on the application. Have you ever seen those super long, like the
Yep.
bristles are really long,
Yep.
and so you can, when you rest your hand and you sort of run it along, and I've seen car guys painting details like
Oh,
pinstripe.
pinstriping. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm amazed when they do that,
it's the
both on the
same.
real ones and on the models.
Exactly. It's the same kind of concepts, right? Like you need specific types of brushes for the type of application or finish you're going for, right? And of course you save all your crappy beat up ones so you can do your hairspray chipping from
Yeah.
microneedling, right? Or your weathering stuff where you're using it on pigments and you're smashing it and bashing it, but you want that kind of randomized look. Or in your surfaces for creating landscaping and scenery
Hmm.
and stuff like that. But
Hmm.
I would like to buy a couple nicer brushes, especially for getting into 35th scale figures, that type of
Yeah.
thing. At some
Yeah.
point, we'll upgrade it a little bit, buy a bit more.
Well, I remember Kim Taylor, who we had on quite a long time ago.
Yes.
She paints the figures and that, and she says the same thing I do. It's worth investing a really good set of brushes. Like I have several dozen brushes, but it's the old 80-20 rule. 20% of my brushes I use 80% of the time.
Yeah.
And at some point I want to invest in a good set. And one of the big things you need to do is how to take care of them. So one of the
Yes.
things, and we'll probably do a separate entry on this
We
sometime, is
will. We
I
have
use
one
the Master
slated.
Brush Cleaner.
Yeah.
And this is a wonderful brush soap.
Yeah.
And you clean your stuff with that. Again, one tin lasts you a lifetime. But if you can take care of your brushes, they'll last forever,
Yeah,
or
because
pretty close.
sometimes like we're talking about you're spending 30, 40, $50 on one brush. So that might make people jump a little bit, right? But then
Yeah.
you can maintain it. Like Stuart mentioned, I have another one I like called Brush Magic, and we will talk about that further.
Yeah,
Another
similar
our
stuff. Yep,
talking tool,
exactly. Brush
but
cleaners.
you can have that brush for your whole life. There's no
Yep,
reason unless you
yep,
sort of accidentally damage it, right?
yeah.
So I like to get. I remember I started out with I don't know, hand-me-downs from my dad maybe, and then I had a whole bunch of artist brushes. I still have them from
Hmm.
I took some art courses in school, and I had to have a kit of
Yep.
like a round, and I use those around
Well,
and some flats. I use them all the time for certain things.
well, and there's certain brushes you can get. Like, I've got one here that is a number 2. Is from Germany, but the handle is triangular shape. So it's a little bit
Yep,
thicker, so you get a little bit more control. I've got
that's
another
like
one.
the FlexiFile line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I've got another one here that the brush is actually, the head of it's actually on a slight angle, which
Hmm.
helps with
Yep.
certain things. So
So that's like a chisel cut, right? They all have
yeah.
different. It's like round. Is it round,
Well, no,
chisel,
sorry, it's
point,
it's not
flat?
the brush. It's the actual like stem. Like instead of going straight out, just towards the end for
Oh,
where the
okay.
brush comes, it's at a slight angle. So you can
Oh,
paint at a slight
interesting.
angle. So kind of good
Okay.
for getting into like a cockpit, for example, or things like
Okay.
that. So there's
Lets you
all
reach
sorts.
around.
Yeah, so like, and I'm looking here, I'm just seeing because what I tend to do is I'm looking at my brush holder now, and I've got 3 or 4 brush holders, and
Hmm.
I'm looking here, and I've got maybe 3 brushes I use again for 80% of the work because I do a lot of airbrushing. I don't do brush painting large areas.
Hmm.
Um, and yeah, and I'm just looking, yeah, there's maybe 3 or 4 I use all the time. And again, you just take care of them and they just work. But there's a lot of different techniques with brushes. So it's an area we could devote a whole show to.
Yeah,
We should find someone who makes brushes and see if we can
that
get
would be
someone like
awesome.
that, an expert like that. So
Duly
yeah,
noted, Stuart.
duly
I'll work
noted.
on it. Yeah.
We'll make a note of that. We'll see. We'll see. Anthony will find someone who hasn't seen the light of day in 30 years, and we'll be able to get the exclusive
Yeah.
for him.
But I
So,
mean, I've been using a lot more brushes lately because I've been doing oil painting, right?
mhm.
On
Yep.
like for the finishing and the weathering, and
Yes.
that's all brush painted stuff, and it is so much fun, I gotta say, because I'm
Yep.
like you, I usually like 90% of the thing is an airbrush kind of finish, right?
Yep.
So it's yeah, it's quite
Yep. And I
interesting.
did, yeah, same thing when I've done my armor. It's fun to kind of doing those things and things like that. Okay, let's move on to what's on our benches. So I'm going to start off. I finally got that Aqueous paint review done.
Hmm.
Embarrassing admission here. I thought I'd actually posted it, but I hadn't.
Oh,
So yeah, so this is the one, the off-white and the German green gray I'm using for the Valkyrie.
nice.
So there's a brief review on my website, blackfire.ca. I put the link there. And then I had someone reply to it, and they're right. I really didn't go into brush painting it. I was just doing airbrushing because that's what I was doing on the Valkyrie. So there will be a second part to that review. Short cheaters version, I like the paint. It's different than Tamiya, but I like the paint. Working on the
Nice.
Valkyrie, decaling's well underway, and as I briefly touched upon, I'm now at the point where decaling's pretty well done. I'm at the point now where I'm putting the landing gear on,
Hmm.
which is very fiddly, especially the landing gear doors. That's where I have to take a break from. And then once that's on, I flip it over and very so carefully put on the tails, which I painted and masked and did all that separately. So
Wonderful.
the Spitfire, the Edward Spitfire. Let me tell you my tales of woe there.
How's that going?
Well, again, I got the 3-color camouflage on. I used the newer Tamiya colors for that, the RAF mid-war. And then I have all the RAF aircraft, they have this identification stripe, which goes on the back fuselage. Quite often you can get a decal for it, but it's never quite the same. So I do have quite a few jars of the old Aqueous, the old formula Aqueous Sky. So I
Yep.
carefully masked it up, and then I realized I should have thought about assembly instructions a bit more, like kept off the tail planes. But anyway, masked it off, thinned it, sprayed it, but I had a terrible bleed through. I think I just
Oh,
screwed up my ratio because the old formula Aqueous and the new formula, very different mixing ratios. So I think I over thinned it. So that required a little bit of work with brush painting and touching it up. Again, it wouldn't win me a contest, but it will do. So
as
that's
long, yeah,
pretty,
you got her
yeah.
done. That's the most important
Yeah,
thing.
a gloss coat's been put on, some aqua gloss the other night, so it's now ready for decals.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so like I said, I'm in kind of that fiddly stage of both of them. But
Yeah,
I
definitely.
got to tell you, the Hasegawa decals on the Valkyrie look really good, and they work really well. You
Nice.
know how they always say use warm water?
Yeah.
For the Hasegawa, you definitely do. If you use warm water, I can dip it in, count to 10, and I can put it on the kit.
Nice.
If I use cold water, it's a good minute. They still work
They're
just as
thick.
well.
I think the Hasegawa ones that, other than Cartograph, I find them a little bit thick too. So I think the
Yeah,
heat actually helps to kind of make them
I
more
think so. But they
fluid.
go on well. They go on well, and I always use for Japanese decals. I always use the Tamiya Mark Fit.
Yeah.
I think Mr. Color has their own, but I've always used for Japanese decals and that I use that. And
Uh-huh.
for American subjects and most of the European subjects, I will use the
Microscale.
Microsol and the Microset. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Although
Interesting.
I have used the Mark Fit on the Airfix stuff and they work well. So
Hmm. Nice.
that's what's happening there. What about you?
I've been crazy busy, but like you were saying, time to step away. I've been doing that too because I've been cutting my own masks on the Quincy Row kit, which is the Quaidloon Rao,
Awesome.
which is kind of intense. I'll take a picture. It's just tape everywhere on my bench, and I'm happy how it's coming out. So I've kind of finished painting this thing. I'm really happy. And then there's these sort of yellow markings, quite long stripes and that kind of thing that they pass over round kind of bulbous parts. And I just couldn't bring myself to do the decals just because they're quite large and I wanted
Hmm.
them to match the kind of finish.
Hmm. Hmm.
And so I said, all right, well, I'm gonna cut my own mask, which I've never done before. So I figured out how to do that. I scrounged around and found some vellum,
Yes.
or onion skin, sometimes it's
Yep.
called, or
Yep.
tracing paper. So
Yep.
I found some. I dug out some vellum from my plumbing school projects, and then I found some. Um, I don't know, like waxed paper
Hmm.
that I kept from. I just have like a sort of a folder filled with like random
Yeah.
materials kind of thing.
I think
So
we all do.
yeah, so I just taped down the vellum to the decal sheet that comes with a kit, and then traced out the with my drafting set, traced out the shapes that there were these
Hmm.
yellow kind of like stripes and symbols, and then I took the vellum and put the tape on the wax paper. I put like Tamiya tape on, and I was saying that I've been using a tape dispenser because I just find like a wide piece, put it on the wax paper, and then tape the vellum down, and like
Hmm.
tape it to a surface, and then fresh blade, cut it right out, and
Yep.
then I'd have a mask and then a positive, and then I used the. At first, I started to put the masks on, but I couldn't see what I was doing, so I had no idea if they were crooked or what. So
Right.
I took them back off. That that was the one time I thought I'd already put these on and placed them and thought, oh yeah, it looks good and everything. But I was like, but I have no idea if it's really crooked. And it was late, and I was like, I should just paint this. I was ready to paint. And I said, you
Uh,
know what? I'm just gonna stop right here. I'm gonna come back in the morning and then I'm actually gonna put on the parts I cut out that are the decals and then see how it lines up. And so I did that. I took all the masks off, put on the positive piece that I'd cut out that
mhm.
looks just like the decal, and then really lined it up and made it look good. And there's like two parts, so they're symmetrical. So it's got to be, you got to have them kind of the same, right? Or it just looks pretty brutal. And they're going
Right.
for curves, and yeah. And then I stuck on the actual mask around it, and then peeled out the other piece. And so I'm really happy how it turned out because I was doing some shading while it was being masked, or like while it was sort of in the mask stage, and they came out really well. I'm really happy with them, and that's like been a week of just farting around with that stuff.
Uh-huh.
So
Well, and that's what happens, right? Sometimes the things
yeah,
you think aren't gonna, I found that with basically photo etch,
yeah,
similar, exactly the same thing. So I know
yeah.
exactly what you
It's
did. And you know what? And you took our advice we talked about. You took a
I
break. You didn't
did,
push
yeah.
through.
Because I'm
Good.
I'm a terrible rusher. I'm like, oh, I've
Yeah.
got 5 minutes. I can spray this section.
Yeah.
No, you can't.
Well, and
It's a
that's what
half
I've
an hour
learned is,
process.
yeah, especially this last phase with like gear doors. Gear
Yeah,
doors are like photo etch to me. I can screw it up so easily if I'm not
yeah,
careful.
yeah. You got to be in the
And
right frame of mind.
yeah, exactly. So
Well, I
yeah,
haven't
no.
touched anything else. I have been working on the Type 89. Like when we sit down to watch TV, I've just been putting together bits and pieces on it. Not a
Hmm.
whole lot happening there. But my other kit, the M72, which I'm working on, unfortunately, is sat for that period. But now this one's about to wrap. I'm gonna wrap that one up, and then I had even a couple other things I want to get back to. But yeah, I've been
Cool.
busy.
Cool. Cool. Well, that's awesome. Okay, we're almost done here. Again, we're going to
Yeah.
have like this one's going to be over 2.5 hours because
Wow.
again, we're doing 2 weeks worth of into one, you
Yep.
know, because again, it's easier for us to do it every 2 weeks. So we're going to give you more quality and more stuff to listen to while you're working away at your bench. So
All the
you found,
anxiety.
yeah, you found a great link for our emailer Eric, who's
Yeah,
asking about
Eric. It
compressors.
was okay. So I was giving you my 2 cents on it, but like who am I, right? So I did find quickly a nice. This might be a good primer for you because I mean everyone's got to figure out what's gonna work for your budget. What do you want to spend? What do you really want to do? Are you doing a ton of it? Are you doing a little bit of it? You got to figure out the right thing for you. So this might be a great starting spot for you. I found a quick a best airbrush compressor comparison article. I think it's 10 different models.
Yeah.
It's from bestofmachinery.com, and it mentions Pash, Badger, I
Iwata
think is another one.
mentions
Iwata.
Iwata. Yeah.
Yeah, those are some heavy hitters. The other thing too, don't forget is maybe check around the clubs or whatever for a used one. That you might be able to get a nice solid compressor at a better price point, right, or in your budget. So I thought we whipped it up quick for you. Maybe that will just give you a spot to kind of start your research.
Okay. And what's this other one you snuck in? An interview with
Oh
someone.
yeah, I found. Okay, so Yoshiyuki Tomino is like the writer and director of and like the godfather of all things Gundam, right? So
Okay.
this is a really neat interview about the Zeta Gundam characters. So we were talking about the Bound Doc, that was from that Zeta Gundam. That is arguably the best TV show of the Universal Century Gundam series. So yeah, this is translated by Zionic Scanlations, who is this guy does a fantastic job of like he digs up all kinds of cool stuff related to the anime, to the models. Like there's been so many cool reference books that I have no idea what they're talking about. Like when they go into the history, the design, production of the show, characteristics of the machinery and mechanics and all that stuff. So this guy does a really cool job going back to these really cool the 80s and 90s era. I think especially
Cool.
are a pretty rich time. So it's a really cool article that kind of ties into the Bound Doc release.
Yeah, I think I want to bookmark this and read this later on. This looks interesting. So very cool. Okay, well, you know what? We've reached the end of the show.
Yeah.
Pretty awesome. So as always, we hope everyone stays safe.
Absolutely.
Keep those emails and questions coming in. We love seeing the pictures. I'm going to be posting the show notes at scalemodelpodcast.com are going to be rather big this time. We're recording this on Monday night, the 27th. I'm hoping to get it out tomorrow, but it may be an extra day because we have a lot of content. So
Yeah.
make sure you check that out. So don't forget to subscribe. Let us know if you have any comments or suggestions. You can reach us at scalemodelpodcast@gmail.com. We currently record bi-weekly and is available where your favorite podcasts are found, including iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, and Stitcher, as well as on the website at scalemodelpodcast.com. If you do enjoy the podcast, it'd be really appreciated if you can go to iTunes, Google Play, or one of the other ones, and leave a review. If you can leave a great review, honestly, that would be awesome because the more great reviews we get, it does help with the algorithm and it gets the show out to more people.
Yeah.
And that way we can always do that. We also publish extra video content and complete episodes on our YouTube channel. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the Facebook page, facebook.com/scalemodelpodcast. And as we talked about before, there is the Patreon page at www.patreon.com/Scale Model Podcast. And again, Patreons get exclusive giveaways. They get the advanced episodes of Bench to Bench and other content we're working away at. Some of it we may be waiting till we can physically get back together. But other stuff, we just do what we can, and we'll go from there.
Yeah.
So any other parting shots, last words?
Parting shots. Oh, stay safe, wash your hands, keep your distance, and hopefully we'll all get through this in one piece.
That's awesome. So for the Scale Model Podcast, my name is Stuart Clark.
And I'm Anthony Goodman.
Thank you, and be well. Just a quick little extra shout out, because I can't believe I forgot to mention our 2 other fine quality podcasts all about scale modeling. Don't forget to check out On the Bench from the boys down under. They're currently on a weekly schedule. Just go into Google and type in On the Bench podcast, and you'll find them in their Facebook page and their podcast page. And then, of course, our 2 friends from Kentucky with Scale Model Mojo. Go to scalemodelmojo.com, or you can also find them in any of your existing podcast distribution points. So feel free to check those ones out, and both of them are going to a weekly schedule. I think they have a bit more time, but who knows. So anyway, that's it for this week, and I'll just say once again, thank you and be well.